All right, we're going live. Going live with the tier list, boys. We're going to talk about not only the tier list, we're going to talk about these heroes, but one thing I've noticed is people will see everybody saying like, oh, Murdoch is fucking top tier badass, needs a nerf, but then they don't know how to actually play him. So they take him into lane thinking they're going to stomp with him, and then they get stomped. So we'll talk about how to actually be overpowered with these heroes. We'll talk about some of the counters to them, some of the items that you can build to help out against some of these matchups. But yes.
Do me a favor real quick, Mangoose. Click on your Chrome window and hit F11 on your keyboard.
But no.
Fine. Don't.
I told you there was a reason I couldn't full screen it.
I didn't think.
No, I could. Yes,
I thought you were just being inept.
I could. No. I could full screen it, but
OBS.
Whenever I click around, it deprioritizes our cameras. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. It looks fine. It'll be fine.
You look fine,
man. You look fine. Your face.
Nope, I said it first.
Your face looks fine. So yeah, we're gonna go through this tier list. Of course, don't take it seriously. Oh yeah, I should probably fucking introduce us.
Excuse you?
I'm the Mangoose. You know me because you're
the authorities.
You're at my fucking channel here.
Mm-hmm.
Joining me as always, my friend and co-host Jelly D's. What's up?
We are the authorities of this balance. If they don't make balance changes based on what we say today, then clearly these developers don't know what they're doing.
I agree.
Exactly.
We are the best gamers. Right? One
True.
of us is in, I mean, two of us are in the top 100 of the game.
Yeah,
the
one of us is top
we don't
50.
really talk about because only losers aren't in the top 100. But okay.
Oh, and this dumb son's a bitch next to me is TheVikingJedi. How you doing, Mike?
Why gotta be you, my friend and co-host, and then I'm the dumb son of a bitch that's next to you? Wow,
I didn't say
dude.
son of a bitch.
Wow, dude. Wow. After all the hype that I throw in all of your highlight clips,
I know,
that you throw
right?
up there, dude, I'm always like, Mangoose,
and I'm so mean to you.
On here.
So mean to you. Sheesh.
I'm excited. I think this will be a fun talk because fine, Jelly, you talk.
One of the clips that Mangoose put out was him getting chased around by his howitzer. My favorite thing is the end of the clip. After you helped him survive all of that, he turns and I'm just way out in the distance somewhere else fighting,
doing whatever. Yeah, we're used to it, Jelly. We're used to it. But what happens, Mangoose, if he's getting chased by people? Where are you guys? Ping. Pings all over the place. Oh my god, dude, that's
you guys
that's
listen to the pings, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Wow. I always help you, Jelly. I don't know what you're talking about.
You help me. I say you don't listen to the pings.
Wow.
All right, well, fucking okay. I can't. There we go. No, I can't see my cursor. What the hell is going on?
Oh no!
No more F11, Jelly.
You heard it here, chat. Mangoose wants you to suffer with his URL bar.
Oh my god, I can't see my cursor. What's going on?
Oh god, I thought it looked fine with the URL bar.
The URL?
Your Earl.
The Earl. My name is Earl. All right, so Howitzer. Let's go in order here. Let's start off with Howie.
Okay.
So I think he's between S and B. I don't think he's going to be any lower than that.
S and B is a really wide range, man.
Okay, hold on. Actually, I'm curious if you guys are open to this idea before we go too far into this. Instead of doing S, A, B, C, D, we go S needs a nerf, A strong or optimal, right? B middle of the road. Because like what I think sometimes with these tier lists, and this is my thought process behind it, is that you say like it's an S tier, which means that it's like needs to be picked every single time it's up, which is kind of true, or it's overpowered, or it needs a nerf. But sometimes I think there's value in like talking about it from like, this is still a strong pick if you get it in a counter pick versus you can't blind pick it. Like, so that means it's a B pick because it's not blind pickable. Whereas anything in A or S is blind pickable because it's just genuinely or, strong. Does that make sense? Like, does that thought process vibe well with you, or do you just want to stick with the generic S, A, B, C, D?
I mean, I wouldn't put Countess in B tier. By that logic, she would be a B tier hero, and I wouldn't put her in B tier.
See, that I would by that logic. I think that she is strong by herself as a kit. Like, her kit is fine, but with like she's stronger in a counter situation, not in a blind pick situation, right?
Yeah, but stronger in a counter pick doesn't make her weak otherwise.
I'm not saying so. That's why I was asking if you guys would vibe well with that, taking that approach versus the typical just SABCD of like this guy's overpowered.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about why we're putting them in each fucking category. I find that the more you limit yourself with tier lists by imparting your own rules, the less likely you are to have fun with it.
You do a lot of tier lists, Mangoose?
Yeah, all the time.
Dude, he's a tier list streamer right here.
Have you ever heard of that channel Tier Zoo? That's me.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Okay, so Howie, what the fuck are we going to give Howie? I give Howie an A. I would give him an S tier, but I think that there are just better mid laners than Howitzer. Not by much, though. He's a great pick all around.
I think he's probably the best mid laner that is in the A tier, though.
Yes,
like by a long shot. I think he to me is that borderline S tier. I completely agree. I think he's only not S tier purely because of the people that are in the S tier.
An amber tier like in Kitchen.
I think A tier is because he is blind pickable. So using my own logic, I think he is blind pickable. He will do well in almost every matchup. He can sit under tower and just farm, or he can be very aggressive and proactive. And as Mangoose uses him very well to gank the side lanes. Like, he's really good at coming in and offering huge gank assists with his ultimate fairly for free and safely. Whereas a lot of other champions, even the overpowered ones, cannot do that in the same way. Like, a gadget coming into gank is not nearly as effective, in my opinion, as a Howitzer coming into gank, because she's on the ground. She has to put herself in the thick of the fight. Granted, she does a lot of damage, and so sometimes that just might dissuade anybody, but I think Howitzers, that's why I would also have him at the very top of A, if not just barely outside of S. Because the reason why I don't want to put him in S is because I think the S champions either need some kind of adjustment or nerf. And I don't want to see him being adjusted or nerfed, because I think he's actually in a very strong.
Yeah, I don't think he needs
place.
it.
Yeah.
Pilgrim said it best. A good Howie will feel like a strong S tier, like a really good one. Yes. I think, but you have to be really good with him. Like, you have to be able to place those mines well, know when to ult, be able to hit those rockets.
Those mines are the biggest thing that separates decent Howitzers versus good Howitzers. Because I've seen Howitzers that they're just like putting out mines just for the hell of it, and I've seen Howitzers that will actually displace people well, and then with those mines, and then capitalize full force on it. Yeah,
I agree. I think also the underutilized is using it as a zoning tool, just placing it down in a spot. No, and don't immediately, because I see it happen all the time. They throw it out like it's a damage tool. Throw E, immediately press E again, and it's like, no, dude, you could let it sit for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, let it see what happens. If someone's dumb and walks up, either knock them into you, or you use it as a displacement tool, or they're not going to be able to walk up and get farm because that thing's in the way. And I love that. So yeah, really smart usage of E is, I think, paramount. You don't just, whereas everybody just throws their R as soon as they see more than two people grouped together.
And it channels people too. The mine, like, if you throw it down just in the middle of the lane, people have to walk around it. So you know that they're either going to the left or the right of that mine. Makes it a hell of a lot easier to predict where they're going to go and hit them with an R2000 rocket. Now, the rocket, though, I think that's how you counter a good Howitzer, though, is you just stay in your minion wave. Like, they're a fucking barrier shield around you, because that rocket's not getting around those minions. Like, he has the jump and hit it at the very top of your head to hit you with that thing. And if he's pulling off acrobatics like that, then you're going to be winning the lane anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Jump Q is your friend, because you got to clear over the minions to be able to shoot that thing. That's why I think he's better in some cases as a carry, or even as an offlaner versus being in mid, because of the elevation issues that you're going to encounter as a Howitzer currently. But not that he's not weak in mid. I think he just is viable in those other spots.
Yeah, he's very good offlaner. Yeah. Any items you think that counter Howitzer? I don't really. None of them really come to mind.
Stasis, maybe, just if you are hard stuck in the middle of his ultimate, maybe you could stasis out of it, or any of the dash things. That's the one thing that I've noticed, is because the wind up for him to go into his ultimate is fairly slow. You have a good chance of getting out of it, unless it's a team fight situation, where he shines. Same as Gadget, right? If you're just stuck in the fucking thick of it, you're just eating that whole.
That's the item I would suggest that people do take on him is called Mini Moda. It's the applies a slow and ability hit, keeps people in your ultimate longer. If you're using the ultimate for damage, most of the time I'm throwing it behind an enemy team so that they're afraid to run through it, and then our team can just clean up. Because it doesn't do that much fucking damage, but people refuse to run through it. So,
well, the main chunk of the damage is the final rocket that comes down in the middle, right? And that's so if you can place that really well, I think that's the big thing. But I agree. I almost always I'm throwing it behind the enemy team rather than like in front or trying to land it straight, because they're going to disengage more times than not. They're going to see you up in the air and they're going to be like, and then you're going to get that whole. But yeah. My favorite is when a Faye is there, because then she sucks them all in. So good.
Soul Freedom. We will take that into account, because Howitzer is not an easy to pick up and play mid laner. I mean,
I think he's
somewhat
hard to master, though.
Yeah, it's hard. To master him, you have to master those mines. So
yeah, his Q and his right click are alone very, very strong damage tools for his team, right? And then the ultimate, just as a zoning tool, even when used poorly, is still effective in a lot of times and can get Howitzer out of a sticky situation as well. So what we were saying though is like a good Howitzer will feel S tier. So him being in the A tier generally, I think it makes more sense.
And chat agrees. 72% of chat said A tier, and we all agree A tier. So I think Howitzer is going to be A tier. So let's put Decker in the hot seat. Decker, the support. Again, I'm going to say between S and B. I don't think we can. I definitely don't think she belongs on C or D.
No.
So I'm going to go ahead and do the poll. You guys want to discuss Decker? I think I'm probably the more supporty person out of all of us, but you guys have faced her a lot.
I would definitely put Decker in the A tier probably. I think for what she does, she's one of the stronger supports between her and Narbash. Her kit is fairly consistent. The hardest thing is landing that ball, but if you can land that ball, you get that feeling down. Or every time you have a good Decker and she lands that ball, it feels unstoppable, because she will just land everything on you. The stun, the slow, the wall, right? And then she'll be slippery as hell in trying to fight her, that she'll jump around, get around you. I've seen plenty of Deckers just pull off insane plays because they're just juking people in and out all the time. I think that puts her solidly in the A tier for me.
I think she's either borderline A or like a very strong like B plus. And the only reason why I think that is because her kit requires so much skill, I think, to be effective, that she starts to fall short with the ease of execution of her abilities, in my opinion. I mean, throwing up her wall is, I think, fairly easy. Landing those Qs, especially efficiently, is very, very hard to do
at the right time.
And that's the other part. And I think then this is more actually a dig on the way the game is operating, less so her kit. Her Q, the bounce on that thing is so wackadoodle sometimes. Like, I've seen Mangoose, who is what I would consider a very good Decker player, throwing it and it just bounces in the weirdest way. You're not expecting it to, and it's like, well, I guess this engage is over. Like, it's not great. It seems like sometimes it's like a flat basketball, and other times it's like a ping pong ball just flipping all over the place. Like, it's really weird. So for that reason, I think there could be an argument to seeing her more in a B tier, whereas like a Narbash, I think, is a lot easier of an execution, especially since half his kit is just passives that you just turn on and then turn off. The hardest part of his is landing a thunk. I don't think thunks are that difficult because they're very fast. So that's why I think, but in the hands of a really good player, she could be even S tier, to be honest, especially with how slippery she is. Like, that's the part I think surprises people, with how quick she could get around.
I've gotten away with so much shit on Decker.
I'm sure.
For me, I think Decker is S tier for supports, but I don't think she's an S tier hero.
Oh, that's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I think I would. Hopefully, we don't just put them all in A. I don't think we are.
No.
But yeah, I think Decker is probably A tier. Fucking excellent support. I think, like I said, I think she's S tier support. Just insane. Like, the stuff I get away with on Decker is crazy. And a lot of times you can just, solo the enemy ADCs. Like if they just can't shoot well, they're just holding left click and going, and you're actually flicking your shots and stunning them in minion waves and stuff. A lot of times you don't even need that ADC. You can just take them one with Decker.
Or you do a Mangoose and you are the ADC and playing Decker.
Hey, come on now. Come on now. Oh yeah, because I had to that one game.
Yeah, that one game. Very fun stuff.
Items to get on Decker. I think the support item field, you can never say what to get because it's very situational game to game. Mutant Poe, wards. Mutant Poe, I think, is very underestimated. That's such a great card for just an extra interrupt or just that fed Kalari that's diving on your ADC. You just fucking hit him with the Mutant Poe. And
dude, the amount of times that I've been hit with the Mutant Poe and I just sit there and twiddle my thumbs for 5 seconds while I'm like, well, this is gonna be lame. Like, terrible. The weird thing about Mutant Poe is it actually is really hard to hit people that are in Mutant Poe.
Yeah, it can save people if you do it wrong.
Hitbox down to the size of the fish. Yep. And that is a little wild. It's a little strong almost, and that like, yeah, they're not doing damage, but it's really hard to do damage to them.
Right.
It's not a great aggressive tool. Yeah, it's more of a defensive thing.
I think of it more of like in World of Warcraft when you sheep somebody and you just want them out of the way. Like that's really what I look at it. So like if you get somebody like a beefy boy that's diving in and you're just like, okay, you're a fish now. Like you don't get to play the game.
I put the moon on Rampage every time.
I just that's how I would look at it. I think it can be used obviously offensively, and you can set up ganks with it possibly. But I agree that because it shrunk down, it throws off people where to hit them. Like, is their hitbox still the same, or now is it a fish hitbox? I don't fucking know. And most of the time we miss. So
I think Broken Watch is another one that is really underutilized, but on a good support, using that Broken Watch is really nice.
Yeah.
This one is a lot more contentious.
Yeah, we got 41% for A, 35 for B, and 23 for S.
I could see it across the board. I don't think chat's getting this one wrong. I think it's fair to say that all of those are accurate depending on the game you're in. I do think what's cool with Decker,
which player's on Decker.
Exactly. Our Decker versus your Decker. I do think what's cool about her, unlike like a Narbash or something like that, where she does have a lot more flexibility in the items. She can be a damage support. She can be more of like a utility support. And I think if you are the type of support that wants to be able to have that freedom and be able to carry your games through support, Decker's probably the one to pick up because you'll be able to do all of those things. I think it's pretty cool.
The enemy team gives you time on Decker. Like somebody needs to get in Decker's face in a team fight. Because if the enemy team gives you time on Decker, you're going to interrupt some shit that was supposed to happen. A Gideon ult, which you don't see much of because Gideon, I think, is going to be on the lower tiers here. But like in that dev game, their Severog dashed under our tower and was about to knock 3 people out of our tower and into the waiting hands of Jon Snow. And I immediately stunned him as soon as I saw the wind up on Colossal Blow because nobody was in my face. And that saved us in that particular moment. Didn't win us the game, of course, because the devs are fucking bonkers. But all right, so I think Decker's A tier. I
agree. I can see other ones being above her, but for now, I think she's in a good spot.
Oh, Sereth, poor old Sereth.
Dude, thank God. Thank God Sereth is going to be where she is, at least for me, because I'm so glad. I've seen very few good Sereths.
I think that's,
honestly,
that's
and I think
what range should we give the chat for the poll?
A to C.
Yeah, I was gonna say CBA.
Okay.
Or ABC. Good. Yeah.
I think Sereth is really strong in certain matchups, and this existed in Paragon as well. But those matchups that she's really strong in basically don't exist in this game. And so she is in desperate need of some help to be more consistent across the board. Basically, the only good matchup that she gets put into is against Aurora. And Aurora has her own issues that I think we'll talk about later too.
Oh my God, Aurora.
For me, Sereth fits pretty solidly in B tier. I think she's high B tier, but I think pretty solidly in B tier. She needs something to bring her up to the level of those A tier guys that we'll get into a little bit later.
You would think with her kit that people will be utilizing her much, much better, but I have not seen a Seraph be successful in a game yet. Like even when they're doing well, they're really not having that big of an impact, it seems. This one may just be the community needs time with her. Like we said, we're doing this tier list pretty early. I think once the community gets some time with her and understands her kit a little better, maybe she will be better. I don't know.
I think the biggest thing is her Q is awful in this game. It does very little damage, even when she's in the heresy form of it, right? It does very little damage. The area of effect is not that large. The time that she's invincible is really not that long. Like it's all around. Her Q is not nearly as strong as it was in Paragon. And her everything else is fairly single target, right? Like she can land on multiple enemies with her jump. Yes, she can hit multiple enemies with her wings. But for the most part, it's going to hit one, maybe two people at most. And that's just not enough for Seraph at this point.
Yeah. I had her at I changed it from the one that I sent you guys, but because I had her initially pretty high up, but I actually think that she's in maybe C tier and high C tier personally. The only place I've seen her currently effective is actually as a jungler, because she's able to come in, impact, and then leave. I feel like when she's sitting in a lane and having to farm, the other laners are in a better position more times than not to be able to consistently get farm, push her under tower, and make her ineffective. Whereas if she's able to roam around, get her farm relatively for free as a jungler, right, and then impact lanes when she chooses to do so, that's when I feel like she's been effective. I don't know if that's her design, but it seems to be the only time I've seen her effective. And it's from that place, which is why I think her numbers are a little low. I think she needs some kind of adjustment. I don't think it's because she's fairly tanky, right? So maybe that's part of it, is that they maybe have leaned her more towards like a higher tank, like a tank rather than a damage bruiser. But it feels weird considering what most of her kit does.
And from what a lot of people are saying, a lot of her kit is quite glitchy. Stormhawk was saying that he had a Seraph counter him on Gadget by immuning the mines every time they would hit.
I played a game accidentally of Seraph mid against a Gadget, and that was my one saving grace.
That
I could just negate her Q. But that's not that to me is more of a Gadget being stupid than it is me playing well.
Yeah.
Like it's very reactionary. It's very much like, oh, I got hit with a mine. Now I just Q, and my Q's wasted, right? If I do damage or not, my whole point is to negate damage, not deal damage, right? And that is where I see the Q used more often than not, is just as a damage negation tool more than a damage dealing tool.
Yeah. And I agree with Finley. If you build her tank, she does well. And that's also because I think that you can go into tank items that help you do more damage passively. Like I forget the name of the item, but it's basically where you have like an aura around you that does damage. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's a good item on her. It's a really good item. So if you build her health and tank, I think that you're gonna have a lot better of a time. Again, I also think that she's stronger in jungle currently than she is as an offlaner, but you maybe could make her work as an offlaner depending on what matchup you get.
I agree with Pilgrim here. I think that's partly because tank items are insane.
They are busted.
They are.
If you can build a tank item, you're probably going to be pretty strong.
Part of the problem I think too with Seraph is she has a lot of stuff that makes her stand still. Like her Q makes her stand still, so you just wait for it to be done and then you nail her. And you would think that her ascend would be great because you're going up in the air, but Overprime seems to be a ranged game. Like if you're playing ranged, you're fine. And whenever she goes up in the air, that's just free damage for everybody while she's not dealing damage. So I don't know, man. I think she needs some love.
I had a game with him earlier today. It was a rough game. Yeah, it was a rough game for us. We were playing comp, and he was doing his best to try and carry. We got him Gadget first pick, and he was doing his best to try and carry, but our team did not want to go with that plan.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
So we put Seraph B. It seems like Chad agrees that B is the place for her to go.
Yep.
All right, go.
I'm sure covetous.
Easy one. This will be an easy one.
Gadget. Where do we want to put Gadget? So
D tier. For D's nuts.
D tier Gadget. So again, this is something I think that we were talking about with ease of use. There's no skill involved with Gadget. Like you don't have to have. You have to barely any skill to play her well.
Can you look in a direction of your target? Congratulations, you win.
You win.
I think the hardest part of her is landing the Q when you're trying to aim uphill, because the game glitches sometimes and will throw it at the top of the hill rather than at the person that you were aiming at.
D for delete.
D for delete. So I do want to talk about, since I think most of us are probably going to agree that she's very high, if not S tier, and I'm giving the room for chat. What do we think she needs to? Is it just a damage straight nerf, or is there an adjustment that needs to take place in her kit as a whole? Because I don't want her to end up like Gideon. Like, I don't want her to be nothing.
She needs a damage nerf, and she needs cast time on her Q.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the two biggest things that she needs, because her Q doing quarter health at level 1 is insane. Her Q doing quarter health at level 1 is just absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's basically, if you are in an open area and it's a even remotely competent gadget, she will hit it 100 times out of 100. Right? Like, it's so fast. There is no dodging it. There is no wind up time on the mine when it arrives. There is no
very fast.
The only way to dodge the mine is be in a group of minions and pray that it selects a minion over you.
Right.
Yep. That's what Covetous Lemon said too. And so for me, and this was something we had to happen in a game me and Mingus were in, and we talked about this before. It's, even if you are able to survive or even have an advantage over her in lane, right? As soon as it starts to turn into team fight time, it doesn't matter how far behind she is anymore. She gets to stay far back, throw her Qs, and land her ultimate, and it's free fucking damage. Like, unless you can dive her, which is going to be difficult because she just has so many items.
And a good gadget will just drop her slow and run away. Yeah.
And then she has her speed up field. Like, she's just got a lot of stuff, and she is fun to play. By the way, she's super fun to play. But she's so oppressive, and she can fit off lane, she can fit mid lane, she can play support, she can, and if she plays support, she's going full damage support. You are fucked if you get a gadget support, because you can just sit in a bush and there's nothing you can do about it. You are not walking up to her without taking half health damage. It's actually insane. I think that the main thing is not just the damage. I don't want to see her damage nerfed too much. I think it's just making the Q a bit more punishable. So having it on like a longer cooldown and a little bit slower travel time. I don't think it should be so easy to constantly land as efficiently as it is.
Because it'd be like Gideon, when you throw your Q, like you target it and you drop it, it takes a little bit for it to actually hit after you target it. Gadget, it's just instant. Just boom, there's the mine. Boom, there's the mine. Boom, there's the mine.
Like a 0.2 second travel time.
Yeah.
There's nobody dodging that. Like, it's wild.
And the area is still just as big as her mine used to be, which is bigger than a Gideon Q and does more damage, and it's instant and locks on. Oh my God, there's just the only saving grace is like I was saying, like sometimes if you're really, really good with Shadow Slip, you can immune the damage on Countess, or with Seraph, you can immune the damage, but
I think with the strat of just hiding in your minions and hope that it doesn't pick you. The problem is minion block is fucking terrible in this game, and you might just get stuck in there with the bomb anyway. So it doesn't necessarily make you. It doesn't help you. Yeah, and it's just from level 1 how strong she can be. I don't know. Maybe Howitzer's the only other one that level 1, because you can go with his Q. Is also pretty strong level 1. Nobody else, I think, in the mid lane, especially any other mage, can compete with her damage level 1. And your jungler isn't going to be able to come in there because he's going to be behind, because it's mid lane. So they're going to come in at level 2 or 3 and just also eat a bunch of fucking mines. So it's like, okay, I'm not even coming to your lane.
A good gadget will literally just go up, drop a Q, and then back up and wait for it to go off.
Yep.
And then wait 8 seconds and go up and do it again. Like, as a jungler, it's so hard to get on a gadget because her range is just enormous.
Yep.
And all of her damage is with her abilities. So at most, she might walk up for a minion, but if she sees you coming, she's going to drop a Q, drop her speed up field or slow field, depending on who you are, and walk away. Like, it's just so free for her. It's ridiculous.
Wraith is probably another one that's not, I wouldn't call it a counter, but can survive lane with her. Like Pilgrim said, I think Wraith can survive lane with her, but I don't think he's going to stop her. And again, second point, Wraith is not going to matter in the same way that a gadget will, and once it goes to team fights. Like, a good Wraith, as great as they might be, is not going to be able to do as much effort or as much to the team as a good gadget will, and that's why I think she needs to have a hard look at. I think she's probably the worst out of the ones that we'll probably end up putting in the S. I think she's the one that needs the most aggressive look at.
Oh yeah, and you see that in competitive too. Gadget is a must ban or a must pick. If she for some miracle does not get banned, if you do not first pick her, you are throwing the game. But yes, it is still possible to lose when you're on Gadget because the rest of your team feeds so hard that Gadget just can't make enough of an impact later. But Gadget will always be strong. Like there's literally not a reason to not pick Gadget if she's up.
Yep.
No,
I agree.
I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon because Jedi and I just played a game where I was on the Fae against a pretty decent mid lane Gadget and kind of cracked the code on her a little bit. Just I was able to own her in lane, but like Jedi said later on in team fights, it just didn't matter that I'd owned her in lane. She just wasn't hitting as hard. But and then I thought that it was because my Rampage ganked early, but then when I look back at the video, he missed his rock, missed his jump, and didn't hit her once. So
sounds like a Rampage.
Yeah. But yeah, oh yeah, she's S tier. Let me end the poll. I will say if you are going mid lane against her, okay, S++, 54%. I didn't even give anybody any other options.
She just needs her own category, to be honest. I think that's why I think it's almost not fair to have that for her to be in S, because the other ones I think that we're going to put into S are not nearly as insane as she is. I think she's the most overpowered. Needs a ban, or not a ban hammer. Well, she does need the ban hammer, but she needs a nerf really bad.
And she what I was going to say is Archon's Gospel, the spell vamp item, is really good if you can build it fast enough in lane. She's just so oppressive though that a lot of times you're just not going to be getting any gold because she's going to be popping mines on top of your head fucking constantly. 100%.
And for her build, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't matter.
Be an asshole and build like the one that does slow, so that way they get the bomb, they're slowed. Then you run up, you put their slow field, they're getting extra slowed, and you just sit there and fuck with them. Oh, I've seen it, and it is.
Jesus. Let's move on to Duffy, my girl, Duffy.
Duffy.
I've really come around on the Fae. At first,
I love the Fae.
When I first played her, I would have put her in D tier because I didn't understand her kit.
And now
I understand her kit. I would definitely put the Fae at A tier, but I think a lot of people would probably put her at B.
So that's I would put her in a higher B tier. Like I honestly, I could see her low A, high B. Right? Like it's one of those things. I think she's supremely matchup dependent. And I think she right now thrives better in the off lane because of those matchups dependencies rather than the mid lane or honestly even support sometimes. I don't think she's as good as the other supports in the majority of cases. Right. And so I think she kind of has a struggle of identity at the moment where she's a off laner that is not designed to be an off laner. And with that, she kind of suffers and needs something to put her back into that mid lane position where she really should be by all accounts of how the drafts should go. And so I would put her in a, like I said, like a very low A, high B kind of area.
I agree. If I low A, high B, exactly where I'd be above Sereth for sure. I think her damage is actually surprisingly good if you land all of her stuff. The problem is a lot of her stuff, other than her ultimate and her right click, it's fairly easy to. I mean, well, her E is just a point click, but it doesn't do all that much damage. It's just like a free poke every single time. Whereas with her brambles, which do a dot, damage over time, you can just walk out. You literally just sidestep, and you're not having to get damaged by it anymore. So in lane, like I think Jelly's saying, if you're playing off lane or maybe even in mid lane, you're able to farm for free. It's really, really easy. You get poke for free. It's, to me, when she really starts to struggle is, again, getting into those team fights. When you think about her ultimate and her right click and all that stuff, you think that she would be really, really strong, but they're on really high cooldowns. And so once you've thrown them out there, unless you have like a lot of other stuff to kind of keep them locked into place, it just doesn't. I don't know. I kind of wish her ultimate did something more to the effect of slowing after the pull, because the pull just, it brings him in. I've done it so many times. They brings him in. I throw my right click to try and get some more extra damage on him, and they just run right out of it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter at all. And you're just like, well, there goes all my cooldowns.
Has to be 3 plus people on the enemy team getting pulled by it. Otherwise, it feels like a waste almost every time.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's a pick-off thing. You could try and isolate one person. I don't know. It's not like she's bad. Like, she's super fun to play. Like, I really had a lot of fun with her in offlane, because you get free poke with your E. Most of the melees can't do anything, and if anything, you just farm right in front of your tower, and you're fine. But to me, it's where she falls off is in team fights. She can have great team fights. Not that she can't. I just think that's where she struggles the most, and that's why I don't put her up higher.
See, I love her. I would definitely put her A or S tier for myself, but that's again, I think it's dependent upon who's piloting her. I don't want to, I'm rarely cocky, but I'm a pretty goddamn good Fae player. I went 16-0 last night. I went 24-4 or 20-4 during that game earlier. Like, I'm pretty goddamn good with the Fae, but so I understand that, but she's not easy to use. You have to sweat hard to play well with her. And she's definitely a little more skill dependent than Gadget for sure. And my stream chat locked up. It's just loading, so I can't end the poll. So
nice.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Sig, so Wavy, can you burst with the Fae? Yes.
If you're really fed.
If you're really strong.
What are you talking about? What?
It's not burst damage. I mean, it can be.
Late game, with the amount of items people have, it's not burst damage anymore. Like, it's okay damage. Like, you have to land basically everything to...
I'm trying
damage with her.
I'm trying
also, to Mangoose, play her in comp and come back to me about how the Fae is really strong.
Okay.
No.
This fucking guy
will both agree with me. Quick battles are a completely different level of skill.
Yeah,
90% of the players. Like, to me, you had a Chimera earlier that died to red buff, right? Like, that's literally the easiest jungler in the game dying to a camp. He literally has built-in health regen, and he died to a camp. Like, you can't tell me quick battle is the place to be testing things out necessarily.
I don't know. I disagree that she doesn't have burst though, because if you lay her right click down first, her Untamed Growth, then you throw her ultimate down, so they're pulled into the final burst of the flower, which is a large amount of damage. And then if you're laying a brambles on top of that, she can be bursty, I'm saying. But anyway, I'll agree with you guys. I'll say she's B.
I'm willing to actually, because we both said that we think that she could be A tier. I'm not saying that she's not an A tier champion. I just think that she doesn't, once outside the laning phase, like in laning, she's oppressive, she's annoying, I think she's super strong. She might be one of the strongest laners. I just think that she starts to fall off once things start getting hectic, because all of her cooldowns are really high. That's it. So I think you can put her at
her E is on like the shortest cooldown of anything in the game.
That's not her. That's in a team fight. Her E is just a poke tool. You're not gonna win a fight because of your E.
What? Okay, we'll argue about this later.
I'm arguing about it right now.
I max her E first.
Put her at A.
I'm keeping her at B.
Okay, well then put her at the top of B. Don't leave her behind.
I didn't realize there were bottoms here.
There's always tops and bottoms.
So I'm just gonna move us on to the next one. I actually could see an argument for Narbash being S tier, purely because of his heal. The amount of healing, we saw this in the last test too when he was added, but the amount of healing that thing gives off is absolutely wild. If you don't build first item anti-heal, you're going to lose. Like, it's they will just out heal you, and then by association out damage you. Push you out of lane, take your tower. Push you out of lane, take another tower. Push another lane, take another tower. Like, it's just practically impossible to deal with a Narbash heal, and all he has to do is press a button and let it go. Like, it's not skill based, it's not anything. And then you've got his Q giving movement speed and attack speed, absolutely bonkers. His right click being a really solid stun. just point click practically stun. If you're aiming at them, you're probably going to hit him 9 times out of 10. Like, and then his ultimate's just really consistent as well in team fights. He's actually kind of wild how strong he is.
I would have him at probably the bottom of S tier, only because of the caliber I think that we're going to have of S, or towards the top of A tier, like just behind Howitzer. I think he's better than Decker personally. 100%. Because of the ease of execution. I think Decker, we already said, this has a lot more flexibility than he does, but his ability to just keep everybody alive for a really long time is so strong and early. Like, it's not like you even have to have like a lot of items. The only thing that you maybe need is mana, right? But I feel like it's so easy to come back in full mana, full health, and get back into being able to support your team. He's really strong. High A, bottom of S for sure.
And he has one thing that Decker doesn't have. Big old booty, and that counts. That really does count when you're supporting, because you're not shooting around Narbash. If he's getting in your face, you're not hitting that ADC that's at fucking 0.1 health, and you're getting real pissed off that he's surviving. Yeah. And then when you finally do get a shot off on him, he's already healed so much from Narbash's healing that he still gets away. So, yeah.
Seriously.
And that's the other thing that takes away he's saying is you can't stun him out of his ultimate.
No, he can. You can get stunned.
Yeah,
you can stun him. If you start his ultimate,
Narbash's ultimate is the weakest part of his kit.
Yeah. I thought you couldn't stun him out of it.
Yeah,
you can. Absolutely. Stuns stop literally everything in Overprime.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Also, the extra 2 towers come from the other lanes, because theoretically, after you've pushed your first tower down, you're not pushing an inhib down. So you're going to go to another lane and take those towers.
And if you build Narbash tanky, like I did that one game where we played, holy shit, he could just survive through everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his ultimate, that's the only thing really holding Narbash back, is his ultimate. Just...
I think the biggest thing as well with the dual lane in Overprime is the fact that there's that mana buff just off the lane for supports specifically like Narbash. If you're with like
mana equals health,
right? Yeah, exactly. Right. If you're with a Sparrow who really isn't going to use that much mana in lane, Narbash should get that every single time, and then he doesn't need to back anymore. He's got a permanent mana fix. You've got a permanent health fix for both of you, and then just the pressure he can put out will just keep you both healthy and in lane, and just out battling the other team every time.
Right on.
That's the other thing I will say, Pilgrim's right. They need to add we talked about this, I think, in last FTM. They need to add a tank starter item for supports.
So, yeah, everybody's saying S tier.
There you go.
We'll put old Narby boy. I'm happy to see him there. I'm happy to see Narbash at S tier.
Me too.
I'll probably want to put him at A, but because I don't think it offers as much utility as Decker. But I'm happy with him at S.
Strong as hell.
Revenant.
Yeah,
I think all the ADCs are up there, but I think Revenant is on the lower end of the ADCs.
I think there are 2 ADCs that hit S tier easy, and then the other 3 are all A tier. I don't think they're bad, but they're nowhere near the power level of the 2 really, really strong ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you guys speak on that.
Fits into A tier 100%. He is very good as an ADC, right? His E is very consistent in the slow and then extra damage on basic attacks. His right click is kind of bugged, but I don't think that necessarily hurts him too much if you figure out how to play around it. His Q is always really strong, not as strong as other people's necessarily, but I think he's very consistent. I think ADCs across the board are very strong in this game. I just don't think he's at the S tier level of that strength.
I pretty much completely agree. I could actually see in some aspects putting him even lower. I could see him as like a high B, and the only reason why is because of his inconsistency. Like, so his current kit, like if you are just landing left clicks and really good at right clicking, you're probably going to be decent, but his E is just okay. His missiles, unless you really isolated somebody, are going to almost always get split up, and they don't really do all that much damage. So like, it's just, I don't know. He just kind of falls flat a lot of times in depending on scenarios. Now we've probably all had a game where you've had a guy on Revenant who's just fed out of his mind, ulting perfectly timed, and then you're just like, I can't even play the game because this guy's just so fucking strong. Mm-hmm. I feel like more times than not, though, you've got the Revenant who's in the dumpster, can't farm for shit because he doesn't know how to time his right clicks, doesn't use his last hits with his final shot correctly. Because it's more confusing. It's like our gen versus your gen, right? Like in League of Legends, because Jhin can be really strong, but because the kit is very unique and needs to be used in a unique way, you find yourself down here more than you find yourself up here. I would imagine we're going to encounter a lot more bad Revenants because his kit is kind of not intuitive than good Revenants who have mastered the ins and outs.
Yeah, I think skill plays a big factor in Revenant.
100%.
It takes way more skill than the other ADCs to play, which is why I don't want to put him at S tier, because I'm thinking of who is S tier, Murdoch. Mm-hmm. He's a worse version of Murdoch, is what Revenant is.
I agree. That's why I would have him at B. I'd have him at like a high B, maybe low A, personally. And
then the other thing too is his ultimate is just completely countered by Margit Stone, the stasis item.
Yep.
Like as soon as he ults you, you see him coming in, you hit it, and you watch his right click and his obliterate go into you and do absolutely nothing, and then you pop out of it, kill him, and roll on with your life. Like,
I've had plenty of times where I don't even need that. I could just run away because there's it's not like you're trapped in a box. You can just run away from him. If you still have blink up or you have anything, you're just
kill you while you're rooted when he hits the button, then you're going to survive 9 times out of 10 for a lot of Murdochs or a lot of Revenants.
So let's see what chat says. Everybody says
are devastating Sig. You're right. I think wow, they have him really high. They must hate him because they probably play against the good one. He can be strong. I just don't think he's A tier personally. I think he's maybe high B.
I think crit makes him A tier across the board.
I think he's A.
Crit on ADCs so strong right now. Just bonkers.
Especially if if his fourth shot crits. Oh my god.
Does like almost 2,000 damage. It's
like
insane.
One shot somebody. It's fucking nuts.
No kidding.
Fucking nutty over here. So we'll leave him at A then.
Yep.
Aurora.
All right, so this flack for this one. I know for a fact. I honestly would put Aurora in C tier. I've been thinking about this one all day. I think Aurora is hot garbage. Like, she just does nothing in 90% of the games that you see an Aurora in. Even a good Aurora, the best thing she's going to do is wall. And that's not saying too much, right? Like, her ultimate's ineffective. Her right click is basically useless a lot of the time, it seems. Her wall is the only really, really effective skill that she has. Her decoy, meh. Like, it's just, she's so underwhelming. Even a fed Aurora doesn't scare me in the slightest.
Most Auroras have been building tank, from what I've seen. I think the biggest problem with Aurora, I think you would see a lot of like really, really good Auroras out there if she wasn't just buggy as fuck.
That's true.
The amount of Auroras I've seen stuck up in the air because they use their wall at the wrong place and then they're just stuck is insane. The Auroras will wall over top of you, her ally, and then you're just stuck inside the wall. And there's not shit you can do. And the amount of times a goddamn Aurora on my team has walled me off from either helping her or helping the rest of my team, oh my god, that makes me so mad. No, I'm not talking about you, Jedi.
No, I'm talking about him.
It maybe happened once or twice. I think she is weird because there are moments where I've played up against one or I've happened to luckily be one where she can do a lot of damage. It's just so situational. Like, to get the stuns off, to be able to use, like, because the thing that I like about her is how fun she is to press. When you press the buttons, they all feel really good. But like, again, in team fights, it's kind of hit and miss. Like, if you get your ice wall around you, or her E, whatever the ice things that go out, you can actually stun lock people for a long time. But then you can also stun lock your teammates when you decide to I need to get out of here, so I'm going to wall out, and now half your team's walled off from the objective or from being able to kill somebody or whatever. So I don't. High C, I think, is a long answer or a short answer for a long explanation. High C.
Crazy thing is, even though she has more utility in her kit to help your team, she's still worse than Seraph. A tank Seraph is still more effective than a tank Aurora. A damage Seraph is still more effective than a damage Aurora. Like, even though they're going to go almost identical builds, Seraph puts out so much more for her team in help, despite the fact that she has less utility in her kit.
I won't fight you there. She could go because at least with Seraph, she can. Again, I think she's the strongest in jungle, and whereas if you take Aurora jungle, you're just trolling. She's really only effective in one. You could play her support, I think, maybe.
I've seen a lot of Aurora supports actually, and she's decent there because she has the utility. But I wouldn't make that higher than C tier. She is not a support. Like, her kit should not be being used as a support. There are supports that do better than her, that do better things than her more consistently than she does, and she should be an offlaner, right? Like, her kit's kind of built around that offlane design. It's similar to other offlaners. Yeah. And it doesn't work in this game at all.
Yeah. Kid Death, thank you for being a subscriber for such a long time. I think part of the problem with Aurora too is her ultimate used to deal so much fucking damage. But people aren't building damage on her now, so her ultimate is just, it's barely a CC. Because everybody's building tank Aurora.
There was the first like 10 games I went against an Aurora, she would ult, and I legitimately would go like, did that do anything to me? Like, I was never scared to see an ult come out of her. I was never worried. I was never anything. The biggest concern I had with her is that she would wall away from me and then decoy after that so I could not catch up to her.
Right.
But past that,
her disengage is really strong, or engage in the same right. But to me, when two of your abilities are used as movement abilities rather than there's other champions that can do relatively the same thing and do damage at the same time. So I kind of wish that there was, I don't know, like maybe when her ice wall explodes or something like that, it does like some AoE damage or something like that, or does a slow at least. I don't know. It does feel more times than not you're using it to disengage or to try and chase somebody down and hope that you catch up to them and knock them out of travel mode.
Yep.
So, all right. High C it is.
First C tier.
Yep. Chad agrees.
Muriel.
Fucking farted when I pulled her over the goddamn microphone too. Right. Fucking.
Man, we have so many more champions. We got to do this faster. I'm going to talk a little bit less.
Muriel. Muriel's good.
I think she's low A tier. Same. I think she's better than B tier. Just I don't have a ton of reasoning other than she's really consistent. Her right click, being able to target people through walls and all that kind of stuff, very valuable. Super good ability. Shielding and movement speed, absolutely great. Her ultimate, absolutely incredible. The worst part of her ultimate is the fact that she goes to where the hero was, not where the hero is.
Yep.
So I've killed a lot of Muriels because they ult to save somebody. That person gets out, but I'm just sitting there waiting for Muriel to land. Right? Like it's terrible for Muriel, but I still think she's way consistent. And having that stun, a good Muriel will just destroy you with that stun and keep her carry still shielded at the same time.
Yep. I agree.
The good Muriels I've seen have been really good, but that is definitely what holds her back as being a good support, is that ultimate not going to the actual person. Because it leaves her out in fucking La La Land, and she has zero survivability, and she cannot escape like Decker would be able to do in that situation. She can't just fucking live through it like Narbash. She just dies.
I think something that would actually be a buff to her, despite at the same time nerfing her as well, is putting a circle on the ground of where she's going to land. Because then your team at least has a visual indication of, oh, my Muriel will be in this area. Right? Because even all the time when I get ulted by Muriel, in my head, she's coming to me.
Yeah.
So if I just get the heck out of dodge, it's fine. She'll just land with me. We'll be good. And then when she lands, I'm like, oh, right. I kind of just left her out to die. Oh, my bad, Muriel. Right? Like if you have that visual indicator, while the enemy will know where she's going to knock up, it will also tell your team that there is something going on here. Be around this area.
I agree. I think she should also land with her own shield. Personally.
Covetous Lemon, I agree. Nobody uses her well. I don't ever fucking play Muriel. I just understand her value.
I think what's cool about Muriel and why I think she's A tier is because she's blind pickable. You can pick her, and for the most part, you're going to be fine. I do agree with the medkit that I think if you're going to use 2 abilities, the stun should last longer, or do more damage or something like that. Because it feels sometimes like it's kind of like I use 2 abilities and I stun them for half of a second or less than half a second. I think it's a really, really short cooldown or a stun, so it almost very rarely actually is super efficient as a stun. Like you're not going to set up a kill typically with it. You might, it's like a hiccup.
I think it's a bad stun in lane, but being able to stun as many people as she can during a team fight, because that bubble is massive.
But there's other AoE stuns that do a better job than that and don't cost 2 abilities.
Not in basic abilities.
Yeah, Jedi. I would put her in B tier myself just because her ultimate is so trash.
Phase laser does a root.
Yeah, but you have to land like every tick of that phase laser. Like that's
10,
not.
Yeah, it's 10 ticks.
That's just a root.
It is just a root. You're right. It's not a stun.
So you guys are saying A. I'm saying B.
I think she's. You could put her at the bottom of A. Personally, I think that's where I would put her. What does the chat say? A also. So bottom of A.
There she goes. But again, like Covetous Lemon said, I just think people aren't using her well. I think people pick her because they know she's a support and they got forced into support. So most of the time when you're up against a Muriel, you're up against somebody that got forced into support, not somebody that picked support.
Yeah, the skin choices this time for her were not fun. They did a lot of weird choices.
I like the mint chocolate one.
Yeah, you do.
Muriel skins that she got in Paragon in a lot of ways, but I think still they're very generic. And even Muriel and Paragon had very generic skins. I think the best Muriel skin, and this is going to be the weirdest thing to be saying, I think the best Muriel skin I've ever seen is the one that didn't release in Fault.
Yeah, right. The lifeguard Muriel, yeah.
Better than anything Epic ever made, better than anything I've seen from any of these other games. That is by far the best Muriel skin.
And we'll never get to see it.
Exactly.
Let's talk about phase.
S tier.
Phase, S tier, I think, yeah.
The bad phases literally just don't read her kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop pulling early unless you're 100% securing a kill.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the main mistake I see people make with phase is like if I go into lane and a phase links me and it immediately pulls me, I'm like, all right, easy day. Let's fucking eat this phase alive. If she leaves that link as long as she possibly fucking can,
you tank a lot because you're getting so much healing. Like even if you're getting dove and they're trying to focus you, you're healing through and doing so much damage. The other thing I see a lot of them make mistakes, and I've caught myself doing it, is you want to link and you want to E right away. Q first. Because you want your full cast of your E and you want to get your damage. The Q damage is insane. Yeah. And it does AoE, so you can actually hit multiple people with it. So get your right click, hit your Q, and then start hitting your E. The other thing, too, it'll make your E easier to land because they won't be sitting there trying to dodge your laser as you're lasering them with it because they're fucking blind.
Q, right click, and alt on phase have put me from full health to quarter health so many times it's ridiculous. Her damage is absolutely wild.
Yep. And it's just lock on. Like there's nothing you can really do about it. It's just locked onto you.
Yep.
So
right click, Q, alt, done.
Do we think that she's S tier and needs to be nerfed or adjusted, or is she's in a good place but she's strong in that good place?
Oh, needs to be nerfed.
Needs to be nerfed. Yeah. I've seen people support well with her, but she's not even designed to support anymore. But people still pull it off. And if she is played in mid lane, like that's your gadget counter because you just heal up all that mind damage that she put on your head while dealing a fuckload of damage to her. Her Q does as much damage as a fucking Gideon Q. And like if you have it linked to the person so they take it, and if they're trying to run through their minions to get away from you, you're killing all their you're getting wave clear out of it too. Oh my god, she is just stupid. And that blind in the middle of a team fight is so fucking disruptive. And she pulls people when you're trying to do a tower defense. There's no way you're going to step up because FaZe is going to pull you out from under your tower, and then her team is going to fucking fuck you up. She is just ridiculous.
Tower, she'll pull you under her tower.
Yes.
No, she's absolutely wild. And literally, the people that don't do well on FaZe just don't hit control and read what her abilities do. Like if you read them and actually tried to understand, you will be 10 times more successful on FaZe.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Yeah. Like Finlay is saying.
Q. Yep.
Yeah,
the double damage
because
from the Q is actually
it comes from you and it comes from them. So if you get right next to them,
yep, I've been popped so many times with that. It's ridiculous.
And then if you're not dead, she could just use her ultimate for the one thing it's good for, is securing a kill if you didn't kill people.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
And like you would think her ultimate would be used mainly to get her out of danger, to like knock people away from her from ganking her. No, just more damage for her.
Just murder them. Yep.
God, I like that they made her a caster. I think it's cool, but goddamn, why is she so fucking strong?
Yeah, no, her damage needs to be nerfed and the link range needs to be shorter. That's how I think you would squash the support out of her. And I think that's partly why she's so strong as support, is that link range is really long, and being able to have a carry dash away from you or use an ability to push you back and still be able to pull them back into the fight basically is just always going to be very, very strong. Right? The other really good supports, we talked about Narbash and we talked about Decker, you have to stun them and then bring the fight to them. This is a way that you bring them to you back into a fight, even if they just escaped it, and then can blind them and do damage then again thereafter. Right? Like it's not, the agency is not on you. The agency is always on the enemy.
I will say I do think she needs to be nerfed, but not in the pull range necessarily. I think her Q needs to be nerfed. That's of the things that need to be nerfed, I think it's her Q. And because I think if you limit her range on her right click to try and get her out of bot lane, then you make her way weaker in mid and possibly off lane, because she won't be able to keep up with the range that is there from the other mages. Her E doesn't do enough damage to be able to efficiently poke with it consistently, and her Q is only effective as a damage tool if you can land the link. So you would be putting her into like almost melee type ranges to be able to get her damage across, which I think would be counter. I think you lower the amount people are CC'd or through the blind and the damage that the Q does. Maybe make it to where the Qs don't stack like they do currently, or if they do stack, it's like halved from one of them, you know what I mean, or something like that.
The issue with her current pull range, and even chat mentioned it now as well, is how do you institute a pull character when FaZe does everything better than a pull character does?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Richter in this game, but comparatively speaking, Richter, his pull was always a very high mana ability, because it was hard to hit. It ate up a lot of mana because the reward is so strong. FaZe just gets that reward on a lock on for very low mana. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Same range as a huge pull character, right? Like the downsides of playing a Richter comparatively to playing FaZe and support, Richter is worse every time. Like that's why the range needs to be nerfed on it. Like yes, it puts her into a harder matchup against other casters, but she should be in a harder matchup against other casters. She has a blind, for God's sake. That's not meant to be countering casters. That's meant to be countering melees and assassins. So she should be the assassin counterpick in the mid lane if you want her to be a caster. If you're going to make her like that, that's the direction you need to push it. Otherwise, you're going to have a caster that is just one of the best mid laners and one of the best supports in the game.
Again, I don't disagree that she's strong in all the roles. I think that her pull is very strong. I would be actually more okay with getting rid of the pull before getting rid of the range of it, the link.
Okay.
If they just remove the pull and just have it to where you can link and you hit your Q and
I think she would. I think she would still be strong.
I think she would still be strong. I because the thing that I disagree in the sense that if you made her range to the point where she can't be played in bot, then I don't think she'll get played in mid either. And I don't want to see that, because I think her kit is fun. I think she's a cool character as a whole. I like seeing her in a playable meta. I don't want to see her relegated to where Gideon is, because he just doesn't do good enough in comparison to the others, so therefore he doesn't get played, or he gets picked because people don't know.
But that's where Gideon has nothing for anybody. Whereas even if she had the pull at a lower range, she still is a definitive melee counter, right? Even if you're playing her for the late game, right? In team fights, right? Kalari comes in, Chimera comes in, Grux comes in, any of those people, she still is supremely effective, even with a shorter range pull.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I will have to agree to disagree on that. I would rather get rid of the pull altogether and still allow the link to be as long as it is, for the ability to poke. But she's very strong.
Who said she's C tier?
Someone probably trolling. I do think she is fun to play. If you haven't played her yet, try her. She works in basically every role. Like you could play her as carry technically. She's very, very fun, very strong. The only place I would say is not in jungle. But
I think the only question is,
get away with that.
Is she above gadget or below gadget?
Below
gadget. Yeah.
I will say a great counter item, counter pick for her is I think it's called Relic of a Sign. OSYNE. That's how I search for it. Cleanses all debuffs. So, and you even get a tier 2 version of it. So it's relatively cheap. That'll cleanse debuffs. So she links you, you hit that, and now you have movement speed and she has no link. And she's easy to kill.
Yeah. It's basically a required buy against a good phase, I should say.
Yeah. But you see a lot of people complaining about getting linked, but they never buy that. And I was like, come on, man, just.
The CD on it is actually pretty decent. I think it's like 20 seconds or more at level 1. So if you break the link early, she doesn't have half of her kit to use.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Move on to Murdoch.
S tier again.
Yeah.
S tier. I don't need to talk about it much. He's just so
that boy broken.
Strong. A better Revenant. Like we said, Revenant was the worst Murdoch. He's a better Revenant in every single way. His Q is longer range, more damage. He's got a knockback for anyone that tries to gank him. His long range grenades will stop backs, secure kills, whatever you need, farm from a distance. And then he's got his long dong of the law that can just keep him ahead at any point in the game because he can catch up by stealing kills from other places.
Yep.
I love that that's just everybody's name for it now.
It is. It is. I would have Murdoch right above Narbash at this point. I think he's still below the 2 casters, and only because those 2 casters are just so strong. He does take a while to come online, and if people build him incorrectly, he can fall flat. That's the other thing too. Is like you still do need to build him correctly, and you need to know what you're building into. I would say out of most of the carries, you can't just do one single build and have him just be very, very strong. You do need to understand who you're playing against and kind of itemize a little bit more. Like if they have a lot of tanks, because unlike with Twin Blast, where his attack speed gets really, really high and he can dodge around and he gets a lot more hyper carry style, Murdoch doesn't do that. You need to have enough to be able to burst through tanks, otherwise you'll eventually die because it'll just be able to that's my thought, but I could be off base. You can build him crit like every other one, but I do think he shines in his flexibility of being able to go into like tank busting items and stuff.
I like Pilgrim said he doesn't have a cool hat though. So how can he be better than Revenant? And then Real Easy brings up, of course, that his Q doesn't get blocked by minions. It just locks onto a target and hits him, no matter what.
It does so much damage.
Oh my god,
way better than Revenants.
Okay, so same question. Since with the S tier, do we think he's in a strong place, or just because the other ones are weak, like the rest of the game is weak, or does he need a nerf?
100% needs a nerf.
Yeah, he needs a nerf.
Interesting.
I think almost everybody in S tier needs a nerf of some kind.
Really?
Yes. Either they nerf Murdoch or they nerf crit, like we were talking about at the very beginning before all this started. Crit is what, a 2.5 modifier right now?
Yeah. I think it's 2.5 with the 25% increase from that one item. I think it's 2.25 before that.
That's too much.
I don't think he needs a nerf. I do think he needs maybe an adjustment to cooldowns and mana cost. I think his Q especially is too free. It's too easy. It doesn't use up much mana at all, and it's so strong level 1. I think that's the reason why he becomes such a monster, is because he just doesn't lose lane really, unless you're really, really bad at the game, because he just is able to poke the enemy AD carry or support for free with a lot of fucking damage at level 1. And then his range to shoot to kill is, I think, the longest in the game, right? I think his range is the highest for auto attacks. So he could just farm for free too. I don't think
it's not really
though.
It's not even just his Q, honestly. It's his fucking shield bash. His fucking shield bash is on such a low cooldown late game that it doesn't matter who you are, you will not get close to him. That he will bop you away, and that's just going to be that. He'll Q you, EU, whatever it takes after the fact. But then by late game, you have to have 4 people that have dashes, and you have to stagger your dashes. Otherwise, he'll just bop all of you away at the same time. Like, it's just absolutely wild how strong he is with that shield bash late game. Even Twin Blast with his dash is very strong, but it's not pushing you away, right? If you have outplay potential, if you show up, right, he dashes away, then you use your movement ability to get onto a Murdoch. You're gonna lose no matter what, because he's either gonna be so far back because of his range that he makes you use your movement ability to get close to him. By then he just bashes you off and then runs away, or you just disengage because you just lost. Like at that point,
I think
I agree with Otto. Fang would disagree with you, but he's probably the only one in this of this conversation that can consistently stay sticky onto other people, because
that's
Fang and
more
Kwong
because of Fang's Q than it is his dash.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Fang dashes in and then hits Q and negates the shield bash, and that's the only reason he can actually stick to Murdoch.
It's kind of the same with Kwong. You can leap in with your sword. You get knocked back, and then you use your dash to go in. Or if you're really lucky, you could dash through the knockback. Kid Death brings up though, like he's not free though. Like you have to have some skill to play Murdoch. Like you've got to land basics
to carry as Murdoch. I do not think you have to have skill to just play well in lane as Murdoch. Because I've seen plenty of Murdochs get fed in lane and then they don't know how to shield bash well. And so it's really easy to navigate around them, dealing a lot of damage. But in lane, his Q is so free that it is practically impossible to do well against a Murdoch. You might go even, but doing well against him is very, very rare.
Well, like I was talking about earlier, I had that Murdoch that fucking sauntered into mid lane like he fucking owned the place, like he was going to just bowl me over. I was on the Fae. I fucking killed him twice in like 3 minutes. So then he switched with Twin Blast, and then I killed the Twin Blast too. It's like, so you got to have some skill. Like he was just.
So, okay, let me go back to how did you do on Countess with Murdoch?
Not well. But
Right? Like
that's a different story though. Countess and the Murdoch, like how is she going to, like you try to shadow slip to him, he knocks you back. There's not a lot you can do on Countess. Not like you can with Faye.
In general, she's not exactly.
My thinking though with the Countess was, I'll be able to shadow slip those fucking rockets. Hell no. Maybe one. Like I might have been shadow slipping one hit of the rocket, but they follow you wherever the fuck you go. Even if I shadow slipped twice after they were starting to hit, I would still get hit by a bunch of them. Fucking bullshit.
I'm not going to go so far as saying that he needs like a hard nerf. I do think maybe an adjustment to some of his numbers is fine, like as far as mana costs and stuff like that. I think his damage is fine for the most part. His Q damage is probably the worst part of it, with it being as strong as it is. I do think his knockback is strong. His knockback is strong.
Like a quarter health or quarter mana cost cast. Yeah. He gets it 4 times at the most, and then he has to back.
It's the same. So
again, the problem with that mana buff in the lane is that if you're playing Murdoch, you now go get that mana buff every 50 seconds. Yeah. And then you just queue endlessly.
Do you know what I would rather see is the damage or the mana for his E is so fucking high. I tell people, I'm like, dude, don't even level it up until you've leveled everything else up. You're never going to use it efficiently. Like, oh, I could poke somebody who's sitting under tower. Maybe at the
some people are really good with it though. Some people are really good with it though.
Thank you. Yeah, but no. I mean, you can be really good with it, but the more times than not, you're going to waste like 3 or 4 grenades, and all of your mana is going to be gone. Just save it, farm some minions, let the guy go fucking backwards. Who cares? Just move on. If you were to swap those two, make the E a little bit more efficient to use, and make the Q way more punishing to use, I think we'd be okay. So like an adjustment.
Oh, by the way,
across the board, they need to drop the mana buff in the duo lane. I think it needs to be a gold buff that you get that, and when you kill minions, you get extra gold. Yeah. I think the mana buff in the lane is unhealthy for the types of characters that are benefiting from it right now.
Maybe.
Spiritual Soul says he wants to see everything but do it high elo. Well, I invite you to come watch the Get Through Gaming tournament on Saturday and Sunday.
We will see a Murdoch jungle. Murdoch is being played in every single lane.
Yeah.
The amount of messages I've gotten about like you need to play Murdoch jungle, it's fucking broken.
I can see it.
Wild.
I can see it.
Literally, he runs up in lane, shield bashes them backwards, and what are they going to do?
I mean, right? Like you saw Jelly. I used my flash to secure 2 kills to do the knockback before they could get under turret. Absolutely, it's very, very strong. I'm not saying that it's not. But anyway, we're taking too long again.
Yeah, Chad agrees. He's S tier.
He is S tier.
I really don't have any items that counter him really well.
No, you just need a flank. That's it.
Tank items.
Tank items. even then,
you literally have to build all 3 or 4 of the good tank items, and then he'll still shred you, but you'll survive long enough to maybe do something about it.
Murdoch support would work too. Covetous Lemon, just
100%.
Brush control.
100% Murdoch support would work.
And not for painting.
Let's move on to Rampage. Rampage.
A tier.
Partly due to tank items, but I think he's just super consistent regardless.
I think it's trickier to pick up than people think. They think they could throw a rock and that's all you need to do to be a good Rampage. I think that there's more to the nuance of his kit than people who pick him, because we've definitely had a Rampage who struggles to hit a rock point blank and then is just standing there getting peppered to death because they don't know what they're doing. But I definitely think either high B or mid to low A, depending on how you build them and who's piloting them.
Yeah, I see too many Rampages that try and go in from the beginning when they don't have the tank items, and they just get shredded. They just get fucking melted. The Rampages that understand they have to wait a little bit before they can start just bullying people.
You can use him as for like, to try and secure kills, or like if you gank with him, it's they I don't know. I would even say you don't want to gank with him early unless you are really, really good at understanding the cooldowns that you have available to you and the lanes that you're ganking, because sometimes I've had them, they come in, they don't understand, it's going to be a 3v2. Yeah, a 3v2 into these two is probably not the one that you want to, you're going to die. You're just going to get, if you go into a Murdoch and a phase, you're fucked. You're just dead. You stay away from my lane. You just stay over there. You're just going to give them and bait my support in, and then we're going to give them free kills.
No, the best thing you can do as a Rampage early game is walk into the lane, throw a rock to stun somebody, scare them backwards off of the wave, and then you run back into your jungle and just keep farming. All you have to do is just throw your pressure out with the rock one time. They get scared for a couple seconds. They think you might be in a bush, that you might still be around. Gives your team time to like kind of regroup or build back up or take more minions or whatever it is. And then you're already back to farming in your jungle, so you can get to that late game scaling.
Kat, for our list, A is strong, basically fairly safe to blind pick. B is more of like not necessarily underpowered, but not quite to the point where you want to blind pick them all the time. You might want to, depending on matchups, they're still effective, or skill. If you're a very high skilled player, then you might still be able to make them work really well. At least that's how I've been approaching it. And then apparently S just means they need to be nerfed. That's not how I was looking at S, but that's how the boys are looking at it.
Yeah, kind of. I don't think Rampage needs to be nerfed.
I definitely don't think he needs to be nerfed. I don't think he needs to be buffed though either. I think he's fine where he is, which is why I'm happy to put him at the middle to bottom of A tier, or even at the top of B tier, depending on how people feel about him. Because I think as a scaling tank, he becomes so strong, almost impossible to deal with late game. It's really, really hard to
the thing with Rampage that I think too many people are struggling with against him, because I've seen him banned tons of times in competitive matches, which is such a waste of a ban. It's ridiculous. Yes. Is he effective with his stun? Absolutely. Is that going to change the tide of the game? Very rarely in this current environment, right? The one stun he gets off, if your team is doing well, your team will continue to do well even after that stun. If your team is already doing poorly, that stun isn't going to make the difference, right? Yes, he's annoying because his health pool is so high, but great. You focus everybody else on his team and force him to run away because he's not going to 1v5 you, and then you go take objectives on the map. Like, he's not nearly as annoying as people are saying he is. He's very effective at just being a meatball that stands in the middle of damage and soaks up for the rest of his team. Yeah. But past that, he is not super crazy effective.
I think a lot of it comes down to that probably the average player, their games are probably going longer, and that's why I think he becomes that annoyance. It's if you get to him to 30 minutes and he's got 4 items, there's not much you can do with him.
You're not going to kill him, but you don't need to focus him either. Like at that point, like I said, he's just an annoyance.
His damage starts to get pretty good, man. He can start.
His damage is garbage. When you're considering the fact that you're running against a mid lane and then probably 2 ADCs, his damage is so little.
I'm a top 100 North American player. Okay, I've seen some of these rampages.
Well, I'm a top 40 North American player, so let's talk about this.
All right, where are we putting him? Let's just.
Looks like chat is pretty much on board for A. I'm on board for A. I don't think he needs a nerf. I think he requires some skill to play. Like S tier for me, like requires just only a little bit of skill and kind of needs a nerf. Yeah. Yeah, Rampage requires some skill. You can't. I've seen too many bad Rampages to give him S tier. Like I'm not afraid whenever I see a Rampage.
Nope.
Gideon.
Oh, poor guy.
C tier. Honestly, there's an amount that I would almost put him D tier.
I would put him D tier, to be honest. I've seen a good Gideon. I've seen one good Gideon. It's just,
but it took him like 10 and 0 to become good. Like he's only good because he somehow managed to get several kills early in the game.
Like he's sweet. He's got an AoE ultimate that he stands still in the middle of the air and everybody just chunks him out.
His Q damage can become insane. He can assassinate people with it, right? It's just everything else. His ultimate is pointless. I'm almost sad when I see somebody because I've literally stood inside of the full ultimate auto attacking a guy, and I'm just like, dude, you are taking more damage standing still with your ultimate than I am sitting in your ultimate. Like it's that bad for him. He needs a buff. And which I hate to say because I am so tired of seeing Gideon because of faults. Like every fucking match had a Gideon in it. So I'm actually kind of happy that in this test he sucks, so we can get some spicy picks going on the rest of the map. Because I just did not want. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him. Even though his skin is super fucking cool. That gadget skin, whatever
the Chrono Shinobi skin.
Yeah, that whatever it is, it fucking cool looking. Is really cool.
Iggy and Scorch are not in the game yet. No.
Unfortunately,
it's Gideon's probably the worst character in the game in a current standing.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not that bad. Like
he is,
but he is though. Every time I see a Gideon on my team, I feel like we're about to lose because he's just that bad. Like he doesn't do almost anything well. If he's going even, right, in the majority of games where you're theoretically skill matched, you're going to go even the majority of the time. If he's going even, he is the 10th player on the list of damage at that point. Supports out damage him. Like he will just lose to everything under the sun because his damage isn't that good. The scaling isn't that great. His ultimate's worthless. He's going to die every time he ults with any kind of competent team on the other side. Yep. He just loses every time.
I think one maybe small adjustment with the way he is currently, if they don't want to like give him too much like a damage increase, is make him invulnerable during his ultimate. That would be the only thing that I think I would
give him a big shield or something. I don't know.
Along those lines, like the more even people he catches, shield, he gets more shield. But even then, because you can get stunned out of it, and then it's just a wasted cooldown. It sucks. And you're gonna fall. So unlike with Howitzer, when you use his ultimate, if you somehow get stunned out of it, you're able to still move out of the way because you can move. You're mobile still while in air. Whereas for Gideon, he gets stunned out and he's falling right into because you just pulled everybody in. He's literally falling into the middle of everyone. Like, well, I guess I'm just fucked. I'm dead here. Fuck me. Why did I do this? Why did I hit ER into these guys? Because stupid.
Yeah, real
invulnerable. That's my
real easy said it like his suction cup rock thing, like that's this combo. But
yeah,
they increased the cooldown on that suction cup so much that you can rarely use it. Like
can't use it twice.
Gadget can launch 3 mines that are guaranteed to hit in the time it takes you to use Gideon's full combo. Yeah. So like why would you ever play Gideon when you could just play Gadget? Do the same amount of damage with an ultimate, but be safe while doing it.
I think, or what if he could throw his ultimate out instead of having it be him at the center of it?
I don't think that necessarily makes him better.
Yeah,
the pull on the ultimate, the is so meaningless.
You can almost run out of it.
Basically everybody gets out of his ultimate. If they don't have a stun, they can blink out or they have a dash and they can just get out. Like it's just so meaningless. Because most of the time he's doing it and you're this far from the edge anyway. So it just is terrible.
His one saving grace is his ultimate is just a straight cylinder down. Like there's no...
Yeah, 100%.
Like, so if you can jump off of the top of something, teleport up and use his ultimate, you're hitting everybody and nobody can hit you but Rampage. Yeah. Rampage would be about the only one that can actually hit you.
The best Gideon ult I've seen so far in this test is a howitzer ulted and was trying to get away. He ulted to get up and then so he could fly over and out of the way. My Gideon blinked and then dashed vertically to be on the same plane as howitzer and then ulted so howitzer couldn't move.
Oh, that's awesome.
After his, and then howitzer fell straight down and I killed howitzer. That was the best Gideon ult I've seen. And that is such a stupid niche use case. It's ridiculous.
It's sad. I hate to do this because he was so fucking good. He was busted in the last beta test.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But chat seems to agree that he is D tier. He needs some help. My boy needs some help.
He needs a lot of something. I do think he's redeemable though.
Definitely.
I just don't know what, other than just adjust numbers, right?
But
just make his damage higher. I don't know if that's what it is. I think
he needs more utility to him in some capacity.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
I think the pull on his ultimate also needs to be way stronger.
I think the damage on his ultimate needs to be way stronger.
Well, that too. The damage is nothing.
It means I'm not even like a fed character, and I'm sitting in the middle of it just auto attacking, and I'm doing more damage to him than he's doing to me. I'm not even trying to get out of it. I'm like, you're just standing still. Like,
honestly, that may have actually been Soul Reaper on Gideon. Like, it truly and honestly.
That's awesome.
That's fair.
Oh, Feng Miao. A lot of people are saying he's S tier. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. I know he's banned a lot. I know he's strong as fuck. I know I hate playing against him.
So for me, the 4 bans that are always on top of mind for every game are Murdoch, Twin Blast, Feng Mao, and Gadget. Those 4 are the things that I'm most concerned about in every single game. Because while I've played against bad Feng Maos, there is a point in his itemization, he is unkillable. I have played so many games as Feng Mao where I'll last an entire team fight, sit in all the damage, everything, and I'll walk out with half health. Yep. Like, and these guys have seen me do it. Like, it's just ridiculous.
And his damage is not small. Like, he does still a good amount of damage while building tank. Right? Yeah.
4K health. Build bruiser items on him. He's got an execute with his ultimate, and that execute is very strong.
Yep.
Right. That's probably one of the best things about him. His Q negating an ability cast, absolutely broken. His dash being an actual blink so he can go up and over one ways is, again, very, very strong.
Yep.
His E slowing and being a full 360. He is, and I'll say this and I'll get into it better later. He's a better Xena in every way. Like, he just is absolutely insane in what he can do. And I think he's S tier, no question.
Yep.
He's one of the very, very few melee heroes that can deal with a really good Murdoch in lane.
Yep.
And like off lane, Murdoch or Twin Blast or whatever.
Dealt with the ADCs that are 20 and 0 is when I've been playing Feng Mao. Yep. Because I can itemize and then my abilities help me get in there, deal damage, and then execute them as quickly as possible.
And with his ultimate having to execute, you really don't have to build that much damage because you're just always going to execute.
Unless you miss your ultimate and then you look like...
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always that.
The ultimate's so hard to aim.
It's so hard to aim. And once you've cast it, you can't change it mid... Like, once you've done the windup, it's going the direction you picked. It is what it is. You're done. So if they just go, oh, you went up in there, I'm going to step left a little bit. You just missed. It's that... As weird as it is to say, they need to fix that. Like, I don't think that they need to nerf him in other ways, but not through the ultimate not being able to be aimed. I think the ultimate should be able to be aimed throughout its entire animation until he whaps it down personally, because it's already hard enough to hit. That's just... It
is. So I hate it. I hate the fact you can't aim it. If you get a handful of games on him, it's really easy. Like, it's fast enough.
Yeah.
That if you even slightly lead your target, you're gonna hit it 9 times out of 10. And I hate it. I would way rather be able to aim it because I would love free executes all day long. But I think for now, that's like the one thing he has that keeps him kind of in check is that he has to actually land the ability.
I think the other part is there's really not a lot of counterplay for him. There's not really much you can do to. You're not going to stun him typically long enough if he didn't immune. You're trying to stun him in the first place. He just has too many things. He's too strong.
He does everything.
He does everything.
Like, and with tank items being as strong as they are, that's even pushed to 11 because of that.
Yep.
All right. I guess the question is, where in S tier? Is he above FaZe and Gadget?
Under the casters, but above everybody else.
Okay. So exactly where I put him.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess he is still above Murdoch. Okay. That's tough. I think Murdoch's really fucking strong. Actually, I'm really thinking he might be stronger than FaZe.
I think the benefit to FaZe is she can blind him.
No, she doesn't count him.
Chet's pretty split between S and A tier.
What?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. He's just straight solid S tier to me.
The only reason why I can think that they would think that is because they've gotten into a game where somebody who doesn't know how to play Feng Mao, because this is the thing. I will say, I think his skill ceiling is really high and his floor is decently high, especially as a melee character. So if you don't know how to manage his kit, you're probably going to get exposed. So maybe people
I'm with Pilgrim on this one. People saying A have not played against a decent one. Play against me on Feng Mao. I guarantee you'll change your tune. Like it's just
that's how I think. Yeah, I think in the hands of somebody who's put in a few games on him, he's oppressive. Yeah. He's almost impossible to deal with.
Gruxy Poo.
Solid A tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think solid A.
Very strong in the right hands in the right matchups, but I don't think he's S tier, but I don't think he needs anything either. I think he fits his niche really well. And past that, yeah.
Yeah, he's just never a bad pick.
Nope.
No, good in off lane and in jungle, but I think he's best in jungle personally.
Yep. Yeah, Bruiser tank items really helpful for him.
Yep.
I think what's going to happen is if Feng Mao gets banned, then Grux would be the pickup if you wanted that Feng Mao-ish type hero. Let me do the. I mean, Chimera kind of fails in solo lane, especially if he's up against a ranged.
I think so. Part of that, though, I think is that Chimera struggles against anything when he's not maxing his heal first. That heal scales insanely well, right? That basically at level 7 or 8, he can have a 40 health per second heal. That's wild.
Yeah.
I really enjoy him, and his new skin is fucking badass.
Oh, dude, it's the coolest fucking skin in the game,
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Insane.
I think it's the coolest skin in the game right now.
Any counter pick items for Grux that you guys can think of, or any items that are really good on Grux?
On Grux, tanker and lifesteal.
Yeah, Vamp Sword very strong. Vamp Sword very strong item on basically any melee character.
Yeah.
Giving you lifesteal, AoE clear potential, and health. Yep. All very, very strong.
The only mistake I see ever see anybody do with Grux is they initiate with both their dash and their pull, and it's like, no, if they blink, what are you gonna do now, buddy? Like, like, why did you just do that? Like, I can sometimes see the dash, I can sometimes see the pull, never both together. I use them both together in lane if somebody has dashed away from me and I want to catch them.
Yeah,
but I don't like initiate with it.
A lot of Gruxes as well need to be willing to dash behind somebody, knowing that they're probably going to try and blink away from you.
Yep.
Because then you're already halfway there to their blink distance, and then you pull them back and then ult, clap your sticks together, and call it a day.
You love Kai Solo? Absolutely not. It can work. I mean, anything can work if you're good at it. You know what I mean? But I don't think. I think the average player trying to play Kai Solo against. Again, a Murdoch or Twin Black, because that's what we're talking about. The meta right now is 2 ADCs, one in the off lane and one in the duo lane.
Shit, 3 if you get Wraith and mid, any character like I do know you can have all carries and do just fine. Like they just are so strong.
Yeah,
Pilgrim brings up a great thing about Overprime as well, though, is that you can jump and pull at the same time. You gain that extra couple feet of distance with that jump, and then Covetous Lemon travel mode jump into your pull.
Yep,
wild.
Yep,
you gain so much extra distance for free.
You don't get animation locked. You're still moving while it's going off.
100%,
which is great, and I like it. I don't want them to remove that. I think that if they're going to do any adjustments, they need to get rid of. They do not get rid of that. All right. Oh,
Sevarog.
Oof. I don't see a lot of Sev. I don't think he's bad.
I don't either, but I wouldn't. I put him in A tier, honestly. Still, I put him with Rampage. I think he does the same things that Rampage does, just in a different way, and has the same viability. With that, actually, he does a lot more damage than Rampage does. with being able to do the same things that Rampage can do.
I don't understand why I don't see more Sevarogs.
I think people are intimidated by his stacking. I feel like solo lane Sev into a ADC is going to be really difficult.
Sucks. You're so fucked.
I played jungle Sevarog, and the stacking in the jungle is rough. Like you get to the point where you can do it pretty well, but those early levels, because jungle camp's health bar is not really clear of how much health they have left, it makes it really difficult to get your stacks on those low minions, and you just eat a lot of damage waiting for your Q to come back up. But I think he's consistently as tanky or tankier than Rampage, has just as much CC to offer, and then also does just as much damage. And then you throw the tank items on top of that, and he's just absolutely wild and unkillable.
I have him at high B. I don't have him quite into A. I think he could have a little bit of help. I think his Q getting the same execute as the autos would help a lot. So for lane, because you at level 1, the execute that you get for if you were to just swing your axe instead of trying to get your stack doesn't always work. You will do less damage than your swinging. And so you almost have to have like 2 or 3 Qs before you can you leveled into your Q before you can start one-shotting range minions and stuff like that to be able to get your stacks efficiently. And so the early game is just really tough, especially if you're going into a ranged. But even if you're not, some of the other carries just do a better job than you, and so they're going to ramp up. And so by the time you catch up, the game might be over. So you really, I think jungle's probably still the best place, just because you can guarantee for the most part that you're going to get your Qs. But I think they need to give him a little bit of help with his Q. That's the only thing. Everything else is good.
Niche is Rampage in that regard. Like early game, kind of terrible, but gets 1 or 2 items in him, and then we'll just scale to the end game without any issue. Especially even more so than Rampage, because those Q stacks are endless.
Right? Yeah. I think he's B tier because I think he's heavily dependent on skill of the player.
Yes.
That factors heavily into if he's good or not. And he's heavily dependent on length of the game. If the game is too short, if it's too much of a roll, then he's just never going to get there to where he is dangerous. But once he gets dangerous, he's real fucking dangerous. Like, I would rather go against a fully itemized Rampage than a fully itemized Sevarog. Like a full build. You know what I mean?
And that's, well, so if you're saying you'd rather go against fully itemized Rampage, then putting 7 B tier feels bad because Rampage is an A tier. And we said the same things about needing to scale.
How many times do people reach full build in this game? Not often.
Not often. I see. The only thing that scares me about like an end game Sev is his ability to be able to disrupt in a team fight as efficiently as he does. Like the dash in R, if done well, is devastating. But so often, it just doesn't work that way. With the amount of blinks that people have, the movement abilities that people have, you might think you're going to get in there, do the 180, hit your R, and then you do, but they get sent like, at a 20-degree angle.
It's got a big old giant root.
The root is really that's why I'm saying I think he just needs help on his Q. Everything else about his kit I think is fine. If his Q executed minions like a melee does, I think that he would be fine. But since it doesn't, it feels bad, especially early.
So we're pretty split between A, B, and S. Nobody's saying C tier. I think
have B tier, high B.
You and I both say B. Jelly says A. Very small majority says A for.
I'm gonna put him at the bottom of A behind Muriel for now. I think
that's fine.
I think if we have to move anybody to make room, we're going to be moving Sev, I think, down to B. We'll keep him in A for now. Bellica. I think Bellica is just the definition of B tier. She's fine.
Other characters do her job better.
She is one of the biggest examples of skill dependency on a character now. I think a good Bellica will destroy a game. A bad Bellica will feed her ass off, and there is like no difference between the two, or there's no middle ground between the two.
Yeah. She's nice because she does bring that extra stun to the team. It does travel through walls. The mana drone, mid lane matchup. If you're up against the Countess or a Shinbi or anybody that doesn't have a ranged basic, they're fucked. I think she's, like I said, I think she's fine. I don't think she's fine. She's exceptionally bad like Gideon right now. I don't think she's nearly to the level as Gadget and Phase for mid laners.
Mhm.
She makes a decent off laner. She makes a decent support. She's fine. I think she's B.
Fine.
I should probably do this. Probably do the poll for Bellica here.
See, to me, I think Bellica. So where you guys are saying she's fine and she's potentially high B, she kind of falls in that same Sevarog range for me of that she's low A but would drop off in an instant. Like if push came to shove, right? Like that the people that are in B tier right now, being the Fae and Sereth, I think need some kind of love. Even if it's just a rebalance, not necessarily a hard buff, but a rebalance of some kind to make them viable in more situations where the A tiers, I think, are. Whereas I don't think Bellica needs the rebalance. I don't think she needs more damage. I don't think she needs a buff of any kind necessarily. She's certainly not strong enough to need a nerf. Right? Like I would put her at that very high B, very low A tier, where she is in that weird limbo that you guys were kind of saying with Sevarog too.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue too hard with you on that one. I think she's fine. I don't think she's. The thing is if you blind pick her, I still think that there's matchups in which she can be punished for being picked over somebody else. Like if you're just a really good Bellica player, then yeah, absolutely, you're going to be able to do things that other players aren't. But if we're just talking about across the board generic players, I would much rather see almost any other support or mid laner than Bellica. Not that she can't be used. I just would be happier to see somebody else because I think someone else is going to be more useful.
Something that like a big change between the last beta test and this beta test is the damage of her ultimate. Her ultimate used to be like, if you were a mid lane mage, you were like, oh god, I used some mana, now I'm dead, you know? And now it's like, it just tickles. It just doesn't do nearly as much damage as it used to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, seems like pretty much everybody agrees that she is a B tier hero. I don't think there's anything
very fine. I agree. She's she's happy.
Yeah, the girl fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll keep Bellica at B. Moving on to Jelly's girl. Is she still your girl?
Yeah, she is. She is, right? Like I'm never gonna go wrong playing Kalari. This is a hard one for me, honestly. I think Kalari is probably one of the worst junglers in the game right now.
Ooh, bold words coming from Jelly, a Kalari fan.
That's really strong words. I'm surprised you say that.
Hot take coming out of Jelly.
Kwang isn't the best offlaner, but he can jungle too. So I would call Kwang worse than her, but I wouldn't call Kwang a jungler. Right? Like in terms of dedicated junglers, I think Kalari is the worst. I don't saying that she's bad necessarily, but I think that, and then we kind of talked about this on FTM this week as well. I think the issue with Kalari is that she wants to be a melee assassin, but itemization says no. And so she's stuck in this weird limbo of needing to play either a crit build or a bruiser build. And it's just kind of meh. Like it just is just meh. Like it never feels, when you're going crit and you're popping off, feels really good. But that's usually because you're fed. And so your damage is just through the roof because you got 4 items in 15 minutes. Right? Like, but if she's ever going even or behind, she really struggles because there's just nothing there for her. She can't blow up carries, especially when you're looking at Murdoch or Twin Blast. She can't blow them up instantaneously, which is kind of what she wants to do. Which she can't basic attack enough to be effective, right? Her ultimate, maybe you catch 2 people, but very rarely you're going to catch 1. And if you're off by even a sliver, you're not even going to get the stun on it. You're just going to deal damage in the location, right? They usually will stun you out of it. Everything about it. I do think there is an issue with her. Her dagger into root doesn't seem to work consistently. That I've hit plenty of daggers and then pressed E and it won't root. And then sometimes it feels like maybe it was a timing thing, but I'll throw a dagger later, wait like 5 seconds to press my E, and then it'll still root them. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I think there's inconsistency there, which doesn't help. I would put her in the B tier, honestly, almost C tier. Like I think she is not good.
Oh no, I wasn't expecting this.
I think that's. I mean, you play a lot more Kalari than I do, but I've played in a lot of games with a Kallari, and I think she's easily one of the scariest junglers to get queued in.
So really?
How many of those?
No, I disagree with that. But
how many of those games did people actually buy wards?
Well, granted, buying a ward helps a lot, right? Like that's a big thing. But in solo queue environment, trying to convince everybody that they need to buy wards is fairly difficult outside of the support who just naturally gets them, if they're even throwing them down, though. Anyway, her ability to impact the lanes, I think, is the highest of any of the junglers because she gets the invisibility. The only Chimera is the only other one that I think is comparable. I think those are the two that have the most direct impact, especially early lane. I that's just how I feel, dude. I just see her pop off all the time. I think that her numbers are damage numbers.
I think that's a Kallari thing. I think that is completely a lack of your team paying attention to what's going on in the game. If your team has even an ounce of sight on the mini map, Kallari will not get ahead in that game.
I think it's the opposite problem.
So far, dude, she can dash. She has a stunned, dude. Her damage is insane.
I am not afraid when I see a Kallari on the enemy team. I don't think she's bad. But I am not afraid of a Kallari. Like, I'm happy to see a Kallari on the enemy team. The thing with Kallari is she's kind of the opposite of Sevarog and Rampage. She will get off to a really fast, hardcore start and get up and kills really quick. And then late game, when the team is actually sticking together, she has to select one person and she's all in now. Like, she can't just,
all in,
backflip away.
Even then, won't even get that kill. She
a lot of times,
solo kill unless she is fed out of her mind.
I don't know. I think she's A. I think she's
real easy. He's losing his mind right now.
I'm blown away that you think that she might be borderline C tier. That actually baffles me. I mean, if you would have said like, oh, I think she's like a solid B, like high B, and then maybe I'd be more. She's still. I think she's very strong. I don't think that it should be thrown in the
strong
dumpster.
Because she has
okay, so do you think she needs?
Only
you think she needs a buff?
100%.
If you put
100%.
What would you buff on her?
Her ultimate. She needs more damage. She needs what she really needs is she needs that explosion after her right click dagger throw again.
Could you imagine a Kallari with more fucking damage, bro? Could you listen to this guy right now talking?
Absolutely,
this is how you know that this guy plays jungle all the time, and that Kallari is one of his favorite people because this is how he's thinking. He's like, oh, she doesn't do enough damage. I need her more damage.
She doesn't do any damage. Post 20 minutes. No, so you're thinking about a fed Kallari. That's not what this is.
Dude, it's cakewalk for most of the time for her to get in solo queue. In solo queue, dude, she gets. Oh my god, bro.
You're thinking about a fed Kallari.
I am, because they happen all the time.
The amount of fed Kallaris don't happen all the time. Absolutely not.
They do.
This is fun. This is fun watching you two go at
it. She's a good low elo climber. Yeah, because that's exactly it. So if you in high elo, she might just fall off. But that's the same argument that we have with Master Yi. Master Yi does not need a buff. Why? Because he's so strong at picking off people who don't understand who Master Yi is. That's it. So
I'm good at that.
But no, she is though, because she can solo almost anyone.
No, she cannot.
Oh my god, dude! If she's got,
absolutely cannot solo.
Okay. You know what? Let's just move on then. I have her at an A tier. What does chat say? And what do you guys think? I have her in A tier.
I'm definitely B tier. I'm not afraid of a Kallari whatsoever. When I'm playing support and I see a Kallari on the enemy team, I'm like, thank God I only have to stun her once, as opposed to like a Fing Mao or a Grux or something. I'm going to have to stun that motherfucker 8 times before my ADC can get away, and I'm gonna have to cage him and everything. Kallari, I just stun him once, my ADC kills her. Moving on.
Yep.
And you can hear her footsteps when she's in stealth.
Exactly. Soul Reaper. A fucking Kallari main asking for buffs. LOL. To the fucking group, bro. Get out of here, dude.
All right, let's end the poll and see what everybody says.
Jesus.
B tier is the winners at 42%, so we'll keep Kallari at B tier. I'll tell you what, we'll put her at high B tier just for Jedi.
It's not like it was a stomp. 36% on 33 votes is still a lot of people.
I just don't think she's that scary, man.
Okay.
From a mid laner support perspective, as a mid laner, I just kill her constantly all the goddamn time.
Every other jungler does what she does better.
Yeah, and as a support, I just stun her once and my team kills her.
by far the worst jungler by a long shot.
I think there's some psychology there too, because everybody hates Kalari so much that when you do stun her, a lot of times if you stun somebody, people will ignore it. If you stun a Kalari, everybody jumps in on that action, baby. They're like, yeah, fuck that Kalari. Cheap ass Kalari, a killer. All right, Sparrow. I think Sparrow is, again, just fine.
I think A tier, 100%.
A tier?
On par with Revenant in a different way. I think a Sparrow late game is scarier than any of the other ADCs, but Sparrows rarely make it to late game because at that point, the Murdoch or the Twin Blast have popped up so hard that it's ridiculous.
I think she's high or low A.
I've changed my opinion. Like, I thought she was fucking S tier at first, but after playing around for a while, I don't know if there's just more skill needed for her or what. But I think she's just she's a great carry. She's fine.
Yeah,
she's a good pickup.
Great. She's very strong.
With items, she will dominate late game purely because of her ultimate being able to spread across multiple targets.
The only problem with that, right, is you have to get into melee range for it to work.
Right, that's the other thing that what other carries can't do is they can't multi-target people, and she can. And late game with items, it'll shred, and he even tanks everything. I mean, think about that game that I was on Sparrow. I was down 3 deaths early game, and then came back to be like 16-5 by the end of the game, purely because I got to be late game Sparrow at that point.
Yeah, I think Sparrow is heavily dependent on a good support.
Yes, and a not good enemy ADC. or either or rather. I think it's if they're bad, you can do well on Sparrow. If your support's good, you can do well on Sparrow.
Shout out to Autistic Karen, I think was the name of the person. I was playing Sparrow and I was playing Decker, and yeah, we wrecked.
I B tier, low A tier. That's wherever.
Makey Zug, I can't say your name. This is Sparrow B, even C.
I would not put her in C tier.
I wouldn't put her in C tier.
Kalari.
I feel like you're saying that just to piss me off now.
In poll, looks like everybody says A tier. I would prefer to put her in B tier myself, but I'll put her in A tier.
Like I said, I'm fine with the low A, like A minus, B plus. But if chat thinks it's an A,
I think
we're at the bottom.
Pilgrim hits the nail on the head, though. Crit damage would disagree with any ADC in B tier.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the big thing. It's just itemization is so strong that she will be effective as long as you know how to.
Kwong
in the direction.
Man, I thought Kwong was going to be an absolute fucking animal.
You guys were hard on Kwong when we.
I thought he was going. I thought he was going to be so good. I think he is good, but he's not fucking an overpowered monster like I thought he was going to be.
This guy right here.
I think he fits in that tier with Howitzer, where a good Kwong is S tier, but otherwise he's just a good A tier.
I don't even think he's a good A tier, and if you pick him and you don't know what you're doing, I think you're basically a.
He requires a lot of fucking skill, a lot of fucking skill to play.
I think he's a C, maybe B tier. Like, I think he's not that good at all unless you were insane with him. And that's what I said when we saw his kit. I was like, bro, this guy is going to be very, very, very hard for people to play. It's not going to be as quick and easy as you guys were thinking, because he has a knock up and a knock down on his left click. No, dude, this guy sucks. His poke damage is a joke. No, you have to be like not playing with your monitor on to lose to him in lane. Like,
Mackie, honestly, that's a deep cut, man. That is a deep cut.
I don't think he's that good at all.
Oh man, I forgot I made that joke fucking all those years ago. Oh shit. All right, but I think what like a lot of people are saying, he's just kind of clunky to play. When I played him, I didn't like that you have to stop all the time.
Yeah.
Like that foot swing down seems so good, but you like in this game, you got to be chasing people constantly, chasing, running, and moving and fighting, and having to stop to do that downward swing just fucking stops you from catching up and chasing. He's very buggy. I've noticed a lot of people, as soon as you use his Q, you just auto teleport to his sword for some reason. Like even if you didn't mean to. Yeah, Covetous Lemon, his fourth basic makes you stand still. Exactly. He's just kind of clunky, man. I think he could, again, probably fucking insane in the right hands. Like his kit, like on paper, looks so fucking good.
Awesome. Yeah. But just
it's just everything makes him stand still and fucking yeah.
So I agree with Makey Zug. I think part of it is that there hasn't been enough time to learn how to play Kwong well. This was what happened when he released in Paragon too. When he released in Paragon, he was kind of underwhelming. And then the first couple players that started to get really good on him showed that guy's a monster.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm okay
then
with
it had
that,
to be
though.
nerfed accordingly. And I think Kwong fits in solidly in A tier for that reason, is I don't think he's underpowered by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's better than everybody in the B tier, but he's going to take some serious playtime to get to that high S tier. If he, like I said, again, like Howitzer, right? Where like a really good Kwong will be S tier and dominate the game.
Okay, Medkit, you're right. His E has iframes, supposedly. They need. This is an example of Soul Leave needs to do some work here because his E does not always have iframes. I've seen him get. I've stunned Kwongs in his E before, and like.
I think even if they fix some of the jankiness, like they smooth his kit out, I still don't think that most people are going to be operating him at an S tier level. Because I think if we are going that route, then almost every A tier can be operated at an S tier level. Like that's the nature of most MOBAs, right? It wants a skill. It has. If you have a skill ceiling that people can reach it towards, then they're going to be really strong. I that's why I put him in a B. I think because his kit is so difficult for people to be able to learn, and it's in it right, and you add in the bugs. I just feel like he's just not very effective. In solo lane, he doesn't matter. He's just free gold waiting for my cooldowns.
Yeah, any hero could feel like S tier in the right hands. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Like Gideon could be S tier in the right hands. Somebody that just only plays Gideon.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that. I think Gideon could never feel S tier.
I think my approach to this tier list is that like, if we as an audience, if people were to say like, oh, FTM put together a tier list and they look at it, I want them to be able to see like, okay, if I pick this champion, I'm going to be okay. Like I'm going to be able to like, you know, to be able to play this game and pick this champion and do all right. So like S tier, those guys are obviously broken. Those are the ones that you almost always either want to ban or pick. A tier are solid picks regardless. That's how I envision it. And I would tell anybody, play anybody but him right now. Like just pick a different character because you're just not going to do as well as you think you are on him. It's just not, he doesn't work.
You got to put in some work with Kwong before you're going to get good.
And even then, it might not be enough. I don't know.
What about my girl Shinbi?
Poor Shinbi.
The circle rhythm healing nerf removal hurts. It hurts a lot.
She's so fun to play, though.
She is. She's a ton of fun to play.
She's so fun. And I think that messes with my ranking on her because I have her in B tier. I think she needs a little bit of help. Not a lot. I think she does need something. I don't know quite what it is, but if she gets off the ground, if she gets some items under her belt early, she is a beast, dude. She is so fun and strong and slippery. She has so many ways of chasing people down or getting away or being able to maneuver in team fights that you're not expecting. She can be a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? But if she gets shut down or she's slow to get off the ground, she just sucks. She's not strong enough for how much you have because she's supposed to be an assassin and she doesn't really assassinate.
Covenant's limit hit nail on the head once again. Why give movement speed on her circle when she has a double dash already? Like, what sense does that make?
Yeah. I think B tier personally.
I think because I've been very successful. Here's the thing: she's item dependent, which always sucks. It always sucks if you have a character that's item dependent, and she's item dependent. She has to have Archon's Gospel to give her the healing back on her Q to do what she does best, which is to stick to people in a team fight, heal through any damage they deal to her, and then fade away ultimate. And her wolves are just very hard to hit because they don't. It's actually kind of a nerf to the wolves that they don't just follow along the ground. It's cool that you can throw them up in the air now, but when they followed along the ground, it was a lot easier to hit with.
Yep.
So I think she's B tier. I love playing her. Like again,
I think off lane and she was so fun.
Well, off lane, I think she's
a long lane. You can chase down. You can actually get the full usage of her kit.
I think she's good in the jungle. She's good in the off lane. Not so great in the mid lane.
Agreed.
But yeah,
she'd be better in the jungle if she had better item optimization for the jungle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Soul Reaper's right too. The dash sending you airborne. It's so because you stop in the middle of the air. You don't carry forward with momentum. Like, fall down.
Didn't fall down.
so weird.
I think that's probably going to be it for my girl Shimmy. Let me end the poll and see what everybody had to say. Looked like everybody was voting B.
I would like to say that all of the reasons you guys just applied are the same reasons why Kalari is bad. She's extremely item dependent, and she has less chase potential than Shinbi does.
We've already moved on, Jelly Knees.
I'm just telling you, man.
See, her dash. I don't want her dash to follow geometry. I just want it to have some momentum, some inertia to it.
Yes,
her dash does follow geometry. You can't dash vertically with her dash.
No, but if you dash off the side of something, you dash through the air.
Okay.
And once you reach the length, the end of the dash, she just stops in the middle of the air and falls down straight. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And Countess. I think Countess is another one that's great in the right hands with enough skill, but for the most part, she's just kind of fine again. A lot of people jungle with her. Don't see too many.
Don't jungle with her. Stop doing that.
I've seen some successful ones, but not many.
I think the biggest shining part for her is her anti-heal on her E. I think people don't realize how strong it can be. It's because it's wide and it goes farther than I think people think it does. And in a team fight, if you're able to get that across, a few people and you're cutting their healing, it's really, really strong. I think that she suffers with the same thing that a lot of the assassins suffer with, which is a little bit of glitchiness. You try to do your full combo and for some reason your R won't go through, even if you have quick cast on and stuff like that. So it does feel bad. I've noticed that where it's like people will go in, try to do their combo, and something about it won't have gone off. I think Mangoose, you had one where your E didn't go off for whatever reason. It's like you can.
Oh God, you heard me fucking screaming. I was so mad.
So mad. I think
because I was against that Murdoch mid, and I was finally got to kill him, and for some reason my E just did not
go. Yeah, I think he or she's strong. I would put her in high B. I don't think she's quite A, unfortunately. I don't know what help she needs, but she needs some help to be. It's because she just doesn't have quite the assassination power that I think.
But the funny thing is, she's the only actual assassin in the game.
I know, but I don't know.
It's rough though with Countess because you give her just the slightest nudge, and all of a sudden she's just fucking demolishing teams. You know what I mean? Like it's very hard to balance Countess. I think right now she's balanced. I think she's in a good place right now. If you're good with Countess, you're going to do well with her.
I think she's a very good counter pick, and that's when you would pick her, which is all Countess has ever been, especially in the mid lane heroes we have in Paragon. For the most part, are very anti-Countess. Right, but when Countess is in the right matchup, she will dominate.
Yeah. She's a very good matchup against Gadget if you can time your shadow slips well.
Yep. I think she works really hard to do too, because she's able to jump in and poke against the other melees. She can be surprisingly annoying to deal with out there.
I would be wary of giving her any kind of buff though, because like I said, the smallest nudge on Countess.
And that's why I say I don't know if it's like she's just suffering from the CBT bugs that are kind of rampant right now. And that's part of the reason why she sometimes just doesn't feel as good as some of the other ones. I think also she's suffering because the other mages are just that much stronger than her. And if they were a little bit weaker or more susceptible to her strengths, then it maybe wouldn't be that bad. So I still have her, like I said, high or low A, high B.
If Gadget would occasionally actually miss her Q, so that I didn't have to use Shadow Slip to dodge Gadget's Qs every single fucking time.
I agree, Pilgrim. Portals make her offlane so fun.
Yeah. So chat says B tier. I think we all say B tier.
I'd B for sure.
Yeah. So next up is Steel. I think Steel is very underutilized.
100%.
But
he was last test too.
Yep.
I think Steel is probably high A tier. And there are arguments that I could see Steel into S tier.
Yeah, the same here. Same here.
I think A tier for sure. I don't know about S tier only because I think his right click not doing a stun and it does a slow. It's a little bit of a bummer, but
yeah, that's thrown a lot of people off, and I think that's making people undervalue the rest of his kit just because Bonk doesn't stun. You know,
his Q is probably one of the best CCs in the game.
Yeah. Or I mean, his E might be one of the best CCs and zone denial. Dude, how many times have we had a steal on the enemy team? He throws up his E and we're like, okay, well, might as well just leave because we're not going to do anything for however long that thing is up because you're not going to walk past it. You're going to just sit there and wait for it to go away. And they're either disengaging or now they have all their cooldowns back up and you're fucked.
The reason Steel can be pushed into the S tier for me is that in our current meta of ranged characters in every lane, Steel wins. Like he just benefits from that nonstop. Because if they walk past his shield, he ults. Then he right clicks to slow them down and then Qs them and knocks them back into the air. And then by then, if you have even a remotely competent team, you win. Like it just his CC is forever.
He's good support, good in the jungle, good off lane.
Yep.
I think it's just all
disruptor.
And I keep talking about people that I'm scared of whenever I see them come into my lane. Steel is number one fucking for that because like everybody's scared of his ultimate. Like his ultimate is so fucking disruptive, so strong. And then you get to pile on a bunch of CC on top of that.
And then you have the tank items on top of that.
Yeah, he's just unkillable late game, just like Rampage, just like Sevarog. He just has more CC than they do.
I do want to say this, boys. We've been talking for about 2 hours, and chat has been sticking through this and being super active. And
has it been 2 hours?
We started streaming 2 hours ago. I want to say, first of all, I didn't realize it had been 2 hours until I looked at it, and I just want to talk to chat for a second and say thank you guys for sticking it out this long. I wouldn't have blamed anyone for being all right. These guys are just waffling about for too long. I'm fucking out of here. But you guys have been popping off in chat, so thank you for sticking it out. Hopefully you're enjoying it. It's fucking cool. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah, so
Twin Blast
Steel is an A.
I think so. I mean,
S.
Dapper. What's up, dude?
100% S.
I guess
Twin Blast is on par with Murdoch in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. He does the things that Murdoch doesn't do, but the things he doesn't do are so good that he's a very good counterpart to him. I think that they are one for one. Like you can have either one and you're fine. They can go up against each other and it's going to be a skill matchup on who wins because of the way that their kits kind of.
I've seen a lot more successful mid lane Twin Blasts as well. Because of his ability to dash in and then get a burst of damage off really quickly, or walk in, burst of damage, and dash straight back out. He can trade with mid laners really, really consistently.
Ranger and John will never let Twin Blast be shit.
Yeah,
100% agree with that too. 100%. And so many people don't know that his E resets his Q.
Grenade.
So you get another grenade. So you can have up to 3 already in pocket. Start using your grenades, dash whatever way you want to, and then throw another Q out. It is in fucking.
And then burst damage is better than any other ADC.
And then his ultimate, not only one of the coolest animations of ultimates, but it's pretty fucking insane. But do you know who counters it? Fucking Steel.
Yeah. Plus, like you can sprint, jump, and then use his dash, and it goes for fucking ever.
And
then his grenades. A lot of people, if you put that on quick cast, you can just bam, 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 bam.
Yep.
Those grenades just
hold down the button and it works.
Oh, really?
What?
No shit.
I did not know that.
When I was playing him the other day, I accidentally just held it down and all 3 I was like, oh,
I did not know that. That could be
that unloads a lot of damage really fucking fast.
Intended. I don't know. That's wild though.
Quick cast things, man.
Quick cast things. I'm so glad they added quick cast.
How to play Twin Blast. Nades, dash, more nades, shoot.
Yeah.
100%.
It's and he's viable in so many ways. Like I mean, maybe not jungle, but like you can put him off lane. He's still insane to deal with. He's just so safe. Like he has his dash. He's just he's broken.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Like Murdoch's got his buckshot to knock that melee character away. Twin Blast just dashes back and then starts fucking unloading on him.
I mean, and like that's what Jelly was saying. It's
And
like they do very similar things, different than each other, but it's like the same concept. You're either using his E as a disengage to be able to get away, similar as you would use the blast to knock somebody away, or you're using it as a way to secure kills, which you're not really doing that with Murdoch so much, but you have other things that help with that. I don't know.
That's exactly it. Is him being able to be versatile in that he can use it as a disengage or an engage is what makes him slightly better than Murdoch, in my opinion. Is that versatility of either way.
Yeah. And he's a hyper scaling motherfucker, dude. His attack speed is the highest in the game. I think it's 2.5. Put some attack speed and crit on him, and you are shredding through people. The only thing that he struggles with, again, is tanks, because if you're building him with the tank items, his attack speed's so slow, it's not really that great. And you don't get the benefit of the damage that comes from his Qs as much, because they don't scale that well.
Oda, there's little boxes next to your abilities. If you check them, it sets it to quick cast.
Yep.
We just blew Oda's mind.
Got it. So anyway, I started blasting.
All right, so Twin Blast, definitely.
Sean's just here for us to yell at each other.
S tier.
I mean, we'll get back into Kalari, dude.
How long is the beta till the 21st?
Sunday.
And then early access December 1st or December 8th. So like what, 2.5 weeks after the end of the wild.
What about
talk about that on FTM.
What about Chimera?
A borderline S tier for me personally.
What?
Yeah.
You're on crack.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
And listen, I just said me, okay? You guys say what you want to say. I do.
You're on crack.
No, right. you can say whatever you want to say, but I can also act like you're a crazy man for saying it.
You're on crack. Yeah, Chimera to me is very low A, B tier at the worst. Chimera doesn't do anything better than the other junglers except for Kalari. He's better than Kalari because his ultimate is actually consistent. His right click is decently strong. His ability to jungle clear is really great. He can solo every camp under the sun, including both Prime Spirit, Mini Prime, and Big Prime by himself without any problems because his health regen is through the roof. Like I said earlier, him being able to get 40 health regen per second, very strong, but nowhere near S tier strong.
It's not about his. So this is everything that you just said is why I have him in A tier for sure. The reason why I would put him at borderline S tier is because he is one of the only junglers I feel like that can do that consistently, and he power farms so fucking fast. He gets through his camps so fast. He can get fed so early in comparison to almost any of the other junglers. That's why I think I have him so highly rated, because he's just able to stay healthy and put out a lot of damage throughout the entire early game, even without items. Like, you could just power clear, I think, your whole left and right side without having to go back.
Power clear, absolutely. I would not say that he does damage by any stretch of the imagination.
I would say in a
ganking. I'm not talking about ganking. I'm talking about just power clearing through your jungle and getting all your gold, getting all your XP. You're going to come out of both at level 5, right? You're going to come out of both sides at level 5 and have enough for almost a full item, depending on which one you're buying.
If you're staying in your jungle for a full clear and Overprime, you're doing it wrong.
Yep. I don't think that's true for him, and the reason why is because he gets through it faster than most other junglers are able to clear one side. I think that's just how I look at it. Now, granted, I'm not a jungle main. I'm not going to say Jelly knows way more about the jungle than I do. I think he's a very solid, consistent pick. You're not going to go wrong with picking him. He does a lot of things right. He can do camps easy. He can gank. He can offer CC. He has an insane amount of health regen, and I think you can build him different ways. You can go full damage. Technically, I think you can go bruiser. I think his damage build is probably the best, but you could possibly go more of a bruiser tank-ish Kai and be okay.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is he has to choose. Is he going to deal damage or is he going to tank?
Yeah.
Because you can't be both.
Competitive environment, that's okay. You can make those choices more efficiently. Whereas,
so Bruiser Chimera is terrible. Bruiser Chimera is sitting on the epitome of sitting on the fence and benefiting not at all from it, because he doesn't do enough damage and he doesn't have enough health, even with his health regen, because anti-heal is so prevalent. his health regen benefits him more in his jungle clear and the ability to take objectives by himself more than it benefits him in team fights. There are very few team fights on Chimera that I'm sitting there going like, yeah, my health regen really helped me there. Right? Like it's very much if I go full damage, I'm just damaging them before they can get me low enough. And my health regen does help a little bit. Or if I'm going tank, I'm unkillable, but I don't do any damage.
Yeah.
The bruiser build does not work well on Chimera in the slightest.
I think it would only work if you're using it just for PvE and planning to, control neutrals and not anything else. And I think that there could be a viability in that, right? We know in early game, being able to secure the mini primes and getting those on lanes helps unlock your laners so efficiently. Sometimes if you're over ganking, you're not necessarily doing that. So it's like,
yeah, but I can solo mini prime with literally any jungler.
Yeah, but not yes, you can, but not maybe at the same speed that you could do it with Chimera and coming out of it
I
healthy.
disagree. The speed is the same. My health afterwards is not. But the time frame that I have to cast it, I back to base, I take the portal, or I go to a lane or clear some camps and gain some health back if I've got Vamp Sword already. Right? Like it's the only part where Chimera truly benefits is soloing Prime Spirit and soloing Big Prime later in the game. But if you're spending the 5 minutes it's going to take you to do either of those things, you're also not benefiting your team very much. And the enemy team's just going to show up on you and trash you anyway. Like that's where, yes, he can in an ideal world solo these objectives, but the enemy team will show up on him because he's been off the map for so long. He must be on one of those objectives.
Like Covetous Lemon said, everybody has anti-heal in their kit now. Like everybody has anti-heal.
If they're smart, yes. If they're smart, they're going to build anti-heal. And
no, they just have it
in the kits.
Maybe. Okay, so let me ask you this, Jelly. Let me ask you this. Hold on, Jelly. Let me ask you this. Okay, outside of Feng Mao, who you say needs to be nerfed, and I think we're all agreeing with it. If Feng Mao's not available, what's the jungler you're picking?
Grux. Every time.
You think Grux is better than Chimera in more times?
Oh yeah. Grux offers so much more team utility.
Grux is great. I think he is great, but I've played with you, and you're almost always picking Chimera
because he wants to make him work.
Yeah, that's because I think Chimera is more fun. But I think Grux, if you're playing hardcore, like you want to win the game, Grux is a better pick than Chimera every time.
I think I'm surprised at your takes on your junglers, to be honest. But I think that's also just because you're a jungler hater because you want all your jungles to be as broken as Feng Miao is.
Again, I'm going to break it down to my metric for these is who am I scared of? Not fucking afraid of
not
Chimera.
Nope. Interesting. All right, you guys are just so good at the game. Not scared of any jungler at all.
I'm scared of Grux. I'm scared of Steel. I'm scared of Rampage.
And I agree with Odo. Grux has the fastest jungle clear. 100%.
Oh, it's tied. It's tied between A and B.
I don't understand. Like, I'm bringing the casual, dude. How many people play this game are considered casual versus non-casual? I'm gonna just throw that out there. We're making a tier list, right? You got to look at it from the perspective of the most people who are going to be playing the game. And I think Chimera in most games is going to be super efficient and can be.
He is easy to pick up. He's like everybody's first jungler whenever they. He's like Muriel.
You're not gonna unless you're just brain off and not trying to play the game. You're not going to do bad if you pick Chimera. Is there probably some other junglers that can do well? Sure, you could do, but that's the same. You could say that about the brokenest champion. It still requires somebody to play. But I think with Chimera is fine. His healing is really strong. His ability to gank assist is strong. He has CC in his kit. He can solo everything, and he stays healthy. I think that there's fine. Now, does he fall off late game? Sure, but almost a lot of champions do, and a lot of the junglers do.
I'm going to put Wraith in D tier right now just to piss people off, and I'm going to put Chimera in A tier just to appease you, Jedi.
I'm C plus. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you, bro.
I actually will say that I don't think Wraith is S tier.
I don't think he's S tier either. No, hell no.
He's a solid A tier.
I think he's solid A tier too.
I think he annoys a lot of people. I think he's one of the most annoying characters you'll ever face.
100%.
But yeah,
annoying but not broken by any means. The Wraith is one of the few carries I'm willing to leave up over Murdoch and Twin Blast.
Yes.
I don't think he's See, people always keep calling him a carry, and people keep playing him as a carry. I always viewed him as more of a mid lane, off lane.
Better mid laner, 100%. I think he's a way better mid laner.
Yep.
But in the because of the carry meta, right, where you can have games where you ban Rev, Sparrow, Schwimmblast, and Murdoch, right? Then you're what's your first pick after that? Wraith.
Yeah. I don't think you would ever pick Wraith. You wouldn't pick Wraith over Gadget for mid lane if you were going to play, if you had your choice in competitive. You wouldn't pick Wraith over Murdoch or Twin Blast in carry lane if you had your pick. You wouldn't pick him over anybody in off lane if you had your, like an ADC meta. He's just not that great. He's good. He's really fucking good.
He's really strong off lane.
Strong off lane, but would you pick him over Murdoch or Twin Blast if you had the option for off lane?
Nope.
No. Oh no, he's nowhere near those two. He's absolutely a solid a minus maybe. The biggest thing for him is itemization, right? So you need to decide whether or not you're going to go on hit with his attack, right? So you're going to go attack based, or you're going to go, I'm landing every single right click and I'm never going to miss one, so I can half health you every time I hit it and go magic damage.
I think it's less about his right click. The best Wraith will be better on his rewind.
Oh,
regardless of what he builds. If he decides to go full basic attack, if he decides to go full magic for his right click, if he can't rewind, he will lose.
I don't know about lose, but I think it would. If you're not good on a rewind, then why did you pick him? I mean, well, I guess because you're in a game with us and he was the only one left.
Well, that's exactly it. Like it's not even. I
don't think he's a better
landing his right clicks is important. If you don't land his right clicks, you're going to struggle as well.
Yeah.
But if you rewind, it's not even about rewinding correctly. If you rewind incorrectly more often than you do correctly, you are a detriment to your team, and you will cost your team the game.
Like Aurora with her walls.
I've been saved by so many rewinds, and it's so great. It's such a great feeling. Or not only saved, but I've gone in, gotten a kill, and I knew it was a one-way trip, and now I'm back out, and I'm like, whoa.
They rewind you out of danger, and you're like, thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
Later, dude. I think his going magic is to me is the most fun build because there's nothing more satisfying than like somebody trying to back behind a wall or something like that, and you just right click him and just kill him. It's so fucking cool, and the range on it is farther than people give it credit for.
And you get mana back and.
And this is something Dapper taught me, and Jelly talked about it before, but I watched Dapper actually do it. He is an insane support, like insane fucking support. Like if you not played him support and you want to try something new and fun, try Wraith support if you can. He is so fucking fun, bro. Hilarious to watch this shit happen. It's amazing. I think Wraith is great. He's just a lot more niche, but still pick him if you don't have a carry because you need something. Oh, the rewind out of the portal. I've done that so many times, and it is evil feeling when it happens.
I didn't know you could do that.
I did this in a game.
You can.
If you didn't know you could do this, I did this in a game as well. You can Kalari dash through portals. If you target somebody just before they walk in the portal, but before you land, you can actually travel across the map with them through the portal.
It makes me wonder if you could do that with Chimera. Or if you could do that with Chimera then.
You can't because Chimera will bunk his head on the wall and stop his
He'll face plant. That's funny.
Rewind does need better FX. We talked about that in FTM. It needs to be more obvious that you've been rewound.
Yeah. It needs to put something on your screen. 100%.
It needs to give you something. I agree with that 100%. But I don't think he's in a place where he needs a buff or a nerf. I think he's just fine. I think he's
solid A tier.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's not bad. He's not bad at all. But I don't think you pick him over some of these others.
Like it wasn't Paragon.
There's been moments where I feel like I think in higher elo it might be more prevalent, or in like more competitive play. The ultimate is because it's such a small map. I really feel like you can utilize its benefits for your team more than yourself, but you can use it as a good way to sneak up on somebody and try and get a sneaky kill.
You can assassinate somebody, but for ultimate as ultimates go. There are more influential ultimates from every other character that would play any of the lanes he'll be in.
Probably true. I'm just saying it's not that bad. I'm just throwing out there.
Yeah, he's solid A.
He's solid A. All right.
I agree with Real Easy there. And I said this before we even got to play him when he was first teased in Overprime. His Invis should be a basic ability, and his rewind should be an ult.
Yeah.
100%.
I can see that. I wouldn't hate that either. I think it's fun.
Here we go.
Okay,
This is gonna be tough.
The only new hero to be added to Paragon for fucking 5 years.
So fucking cool.
We got Xena.
I was gonna save this for FTM, but since we're talking about her anyway, and I already kind of preluded this to Mangoose, I think this has got to be one of the coolest things. If you're an old school Paragon fan and you've been following along for so long, as a lot of people have, to finally have a new Paragon champion, a new IP, a new face to be added into one of these games in over 5 years, I think is so exciting. It is so cool. I'm stoked, and I'm not even one of the crazy Paragon guys, so I can only imagine how. Now, granted, maybe actually because Paragon guys like to be really grumpy too, so maybe they fucking don't like it. They only want original Paragon.
Where's Richter? Why is this Xena girl in here, not Richter?
Probably.
Boris isn't new, Oda. Boris isn't new.
Anyway, I'm very curious to see where chat ends up on this one. I know where I have her. Where do you guys have her?
I think she's fine.
I think she's not. I think she has the potential to be S tier if the people that are in S tier get nerfed. She is a worse Feng Mao.
Yes.
And with that in mind, knowing Feng Mao is S tier, it makes her feel terrible. I think if Feng Mao was in a more balanced state where he got brought down to be more even with a lot of other people, I think Xena holds her own and is a very, very solid A tier pick. I think she gets overshadowed by the fact that Feng Mao does everything she does better. And with that in mind, it makes her feel much worse than she is.
The main thing I struggle with right now is that she's just buggy. Her right click. So I learned, by the way, Jelly, I don't know if you were in when I was playing her earlier today. If you look at the ground, it doesn't do that stutter thing where it sends you back. For whatever reason, I think it's a camera issue. So the camera's struggling to keep up, and then it thinks you went farther than you did, and then it brings you back to where you actually were. It fucks you so often. You will think that because you want to right click and maybe alt, and you can't because whatever, or you want to right click and then E to knock them up or whatever. It doesn't work. I still think she's really, really strong. She's so, like Shinbi, she's so fucking fun to play. Her kit feels so good, dude. Whether you go E and then Q, or then Q and then E and right click. Her right click in jungle is super fun because you get that attack speed early, dude. 30% increase on attack speed is so nice, and it gives a little bit of damage, but the full range damage that you get if you can catch somebody unaware with a full charge right click, you do so much damage. It's so fun.
Oh, the damage is wild on her full charge right click.
Yeah, and her ultimate is so cool looking. I'm a big fan of it. It's like Master Yi Q, but like better.
Yeah, it's again, I think Feng Mao is the thing that overshadows her. But if he got nerfed to be in a different niche than she is, I think she would fill a lot better space. The fact that her knockup can knock up multiple people.
Yes.
That's wild. Yes. That's probably one of the strongest things about her.
Yep.
And because of that, it keeps her insane.
If she wasn't, like I said, if she wasn't buggy, I think she would be a lot more annoying and oppressive than she currently is. And I think people are also really struggling to figure out how to use her stuff. I think that she's going to be insanely strong in the jungle, but right now she feels probably better in the offlane just because the stuff that's buggy about her kit is maybe, I don't know, man. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with her in jungle. It's the first time I had fun playing jungle was with her. She's just so fucking fun.
I didn't think anybody would want to put her in S tier, so I didn't give the S option, but so I redid the poll.
I'm not surprised some people would want to put her in S, because I'm sure that there's been games with people who are just really good or have great ping. That's another thing too. Is the ping in this test has been god awful for me. Like I'm jumping from like 100 to 120 being here on the West Coast, and it just, you can feel it, especially on the melees. And with Xena, with her bugs already, dude, I have so many times where I've tried to ult somebody and it won't go through, or I've tried to do a knockup and they're not actually in knockup range anymore. They've already moved on, and I'm just like, well, fuck, I just used up all my abilities, and I'm just sitting here getting shit on. So those are annoying. But yeah, sorry, I'm just talking.
I'm in the camp of she's good but not great. Like
I think her ultimate is insane. That she gets,
that's the thing. Without her ultimate, she's,
if she gets a kill with her ultimate, she gets a free right click. right? And that's wild because then she can tower dive by taking no damage and take one shot. If she gets the kill, she gets a free dash out of there.
Yep.
Yeah, if you ult, they sent out a post not too long ago saying that they know that that's a problem with her.
What happens?
If you ult a teleporting Countess or Kalari, you will drop through the bottom of the map.
Oh, fun.
Yep. You can also, because I've done it, where if Howitzer does his ult and he goes up in the air, you might end up stuck on the ground, ulting nobody while he's up in the air. It's buggy. She's buggy. But to be honest, she makes the most sense to be buggy, right? She's brand new IP. This is their first big test with a lot of people. It's gonna have issues. I think she's cool as shit though.
Looks like most people want her A. So I'm gonna keep her at A.
Yep. I think that's where she is. She could use it, maybe some help in some aspects, but again, it's hard to tell because of all the bugginess.
I think they did a great job balancing her. I expected her to be massively overpowered, and I don't think she is massively overpowered. I think she has strength, and she has some strengths, and she has some weaknesses. So
100%. Like I said, I think she's overshadowed by Feng Mao in the current state of the game.
Yeah. Is there anything about this that you guys think we should change?
Kalari.
Ugh.
You think Kalari should be down in D?
Not
sure,
D.
Why not?
By no means D. But way lower on B, if not C.
I don't think he's organizing it by order anymore.
Not really. I kind of a little bit, but I kind of gave up a little bit. Yeah, like I would put Wraith above Muriel.
Like said, every reason you guys gave for Shinbi is exactly applied to Kalari and worse.
I've not seen a Shinbi popping off as much as I've seen a Kalari popping off. So,
all right, I think we're freaking done with our tier list then. Oh, lots of good discussion in this one. I liked it.
All jungle is bad according to Jelly. Nobody's good except for Fang Meow.
No.
The only jungle is good is
literally
Fang Meow.
not what I said.
That's what you did. All of them suck. They all need to be buffed.
Josh said all the characters he loves should be S tier.
Exactly. Sheesh.
I mean, the Fae is S tier in my heart.
Kalari's S tier in my heart, 100%.
All right, so we happy with this?
No.
I am. I think we did a pretty good job here. I don't know if Narbash should be S tier personally, but
I don't think Narbash should be S tier. I think he's A tier, but that's.
I think his heal pushes him over the edge. His heal is so strong.
There's so much anti-heal in everybody's kits.
Somebody asked in chat,
and it's still not enough because it's that strong.
Somebody asked in chat, if we were to make God tier, if we were to select one top hero out of all of these heroes, who do you think should be Ultra S?
Feng Mao.
Gadget.
I say Gadget. Just because
I don't hate the Gadget pick either. But
I think her ease of use, making it so that any player could come in 100%. And fucking destroy a game, no matter their skill level, I think puts Gadget at the tippity top.
With that in mind, 100% Gadget.
Yeah, her ultimate too. I mean, it takes up every neutral. Like you throw it down in the middle of the neutral and you just win. I think Narbash is A tier.
Oprah Winfrey of anti-heal in these kits. Yeah, you get an anti-heal. You get an anti-heal.
It's a little weird, honestly.
Hollow Shadow knows what's up. Phase is another one that's just stupid broken. All right,
I think you need more. You need to have a better understanding of her kit in order for her to be as broken as she is. But
yeah.
Broken.
Of those top three, she's probably the hardest to play.
You think Feng Meow's easier to play than her?
I think in terms of like just picking up a character,
yeah,
you'll understand Feng Mao faster than you'll understand FaZe.
Interesting.
No, I think that's by like a teeny sliver of a margin. And if you read FaZe's kit, you'll do well.
I will warn people for FaZe, if you want to use Quick Cast, I would highly recommend you do not have your right click on Quick Cast. It's super, super buggy or super hard to get it to land. It's better if you get the reticle.
Koji, yeah, like Pilgrim just said, we're keeping all the ADCs in S or A tier because of crit, because the crit modifier is too high right now. So any ADC, you see teams running 3 ADCs if they can, and still fucking destroying.
And the fact that they even added a modifier to the crit item that gives extra crit damage, that you have to have over 50% for it to work, shows that they know crit is strong. And even then, it's still really strong.
That guy, you played against me? You were on Gadget? You annoy the shit out of me by putting mines on my head the entire goddamn game? All right.
Dude, I've seen a lot of the community in games, man. It's been super fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's really cool. So make sure you guys say hi. If you do see us in games and we're on the opposite team, you don't have to feel obligated to chase us around the whole map and try to kill us, by the way. You know what I mean? Just that way you can say you did it. It's fine if you just want to play normally and not do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. That happens.
You don't need to bully FTM, okay? We have a hard enough time as it is.
All right. I think that's going to be about wrap it up. I think we did a pretty decent job with this tier list. Again, way too early to do a tier list. Like, people can learn how to play Kwong all of a sudden, and then Kwong is just fucking insane. So just take this with a grain of salt. This was just for fun.
We should do one every month.
Okay, you want to do a monthly tier list?
I think so. I think that's enough time.
All right, but we're gonna have
between a patch or two, right? And you'll have, yeah.
Otis says he'll just hit those Bellica knockups. All right, that's about wrapping up. Jill, you got anything you want to plug before we close things out?
My stream, because I'll probably stream some more this weekend. I definitely will stream the Get Through Gaming tournament. So if you guys have not signed up for that and you have a tournament or you have a team, then I would definitely sign up for that, because I'm super excited for that.
Check the description.
Stacks go against each other. It should be super fun.
Yep. Jedi, you've been streaming a little bit.
I have. I've done 2 streams. It's been really nice seeing everybody come in and hang out. So if you would like to watch some scuffed Viking gameplay, feel free. Or if you want to pick a fight with me and argue with me about the tier list, I would love to sit there and argue with you. So yeah, you can follow me on YouTube. It's the same, The Viking Jedi. I think he puts a link down there for you guys to click if you want to sub and get notified when I go live. And you can also follow me on Twitter for as long as it still manages to stay up. As a social media platform. Oh, and the Discords, dude. I would love to see more people popping off on Discords in talking and tagging us and stuff that you guys are doing. Because I think it would be cool if we got like a community corner of stuff, like showing off your guys' highlights on FTM or something like that. So if you think that's a cool idea, start spamming Mangoose in his chat with the clips.
I'll be asking for clips anyway, because I plan to do a top 5 when this is all said and done.
Yeah, dying to Kalari gameplay. It probably happens every game. You probably have that a lot because she does it, The
only plug I got is the Get Through Gaming tournament. I always have their Discord linked down in the description if you want to check out that tournament. If you want to sign up, you could probably you could join their looking for group and find a team if you wanna. But I think that's going to wrap it up. The long stream. I appreciate everybody sticking with it and hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. A lot of good discussion was had, and I love it when things get spicy, man. Things definitely got spicy tonight. Spicy meatball. But this is going to be the For the Minions crew signing off. You guys have a good one.
Kalari's bad.